On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will break down the Jack Black and Lizzo episode of The Mandalorian to assure some of you that the series is not dead in betraying Din and Grogu. They'll then take a deep dive into all of the Ahsoka series news and trailer that came out of Celebration, which validated many of the rumors these bozos have covered on this program. Their tour of Celebration news will continue with talks on the new films, The Acolyte, Bad Batch, and Skeleton Crew. Of course, the show will end with the Question of the Week segment and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey now, everybody, let me get my swim cap on. I know you all don't like to see that beautiful bald head of mine. And boy, is my feed chunky. I gotta do it, dude. This summer, I've got to upgrade the machine because I'm looking at the OBS output right now, and I am like, there's so many frames being dropped because my system, I can hear it. It's like... It's like Mel Gibson when he was making all those racist phone calls all those years ago. That's what it sounds like. It's like Mel Gibson breathing. But yes, we're here.
Oh, man. Yeah, see, I did my system upgrade already. I got a new case, nice and cool, got a new video card, and there we go.
Well, unfortunately, your shit has to pass through my shit to make it to YouTube, so I'm sure it looks all fucked up and slow anyway, so it doesn't matter. No one can realize your ultimate power that you have now. Hey now, everybody, we got Linda, Props. All right, Props coming in from London. Devin's with him. Bango from the patrol car. I did not know he is a cop. Look at that. Mr. O'Dizzle, we are here. We're ready to go. Fuck pop culture talk because we had Celebration. We had a Mandalorian episode that fractured the fandom. I'm calling it the TLJ of the Mandalorian based on how some of you babies have reacted to it. We've got Ahsoka trailer breakdown, Celebration breakdown, even though nothing that big really came out of it. Especially, and here's the one thing, Nick, I know you were out, drinking, going to strip clubs all weekend. But even the Ahsoka stuff, if you've been following this show and you have ears and a brain that can process English words, we've told you everything. We told you about Balin. We told you about Shin. We told you about their sabers. We told you about the world. We told you about who's playing who and this, that, and the other thing. So, hey, chalk one up for the SWTS and really making Star Wars. I mean, let's be real. We're just regurgitating the shit that he gets. And once again, his track record is pretty damn impressive. But, of course, we got to lay down our own opinions on all the shit everyone got to see this week coming out of Celebration 23. So we got all that planned. If we make the fan segment, we make it. If we don't, we don't. We got shit to do, right? So here we go. We're going to get into it. And, maybe we'll see some of you in Japan in a few years. Maybe we won't. That was an intriguing call by the Celebration team to go back-to-back internationals and skipping a year. So some of us may be dead by the next time Celebration comes around. But I do, it did look like fun, even though I don't think that many juicy announcements came out. I was happy to be following Props and Devin and Tones. It looked great. Looked like you guys all had a great time. Props got a little infamy. His post made it to Reddit because he may have brought his camera into the Ahsoka panel and got a high-res shot of Thrawn, that son of a bitch. So he's living the glory life over on Reddit Leaks. All right, let's do this. That I like this. This Mr. O'Dizzle counts how many times I say this, that, and the other thing. I dig it. It's like a competition within the show. So keep it up, Mr. O'Dizzle. We chillin'. Yeah, send those hearts, Sir Dork. All right, let's get down to it. Like I said, we got a lot to unpack, so we're not going to fuck around this week. But I will tell you, Super Mario Brothers rocks. Dungeons and Dragons is fucking amazing. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, dude, so let's get into The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 6, Guns for Hire, a.k.a. the one that broke the fans. I mean, I'm talking Mando's over, Star Wars is over, Mando was good for 2 seasons, Din is getting outshined by a girl, all this type of bullshit from you whiny assholes that say you love Star Wars, but you don't. You only love to hate it. Let's be real. Okay? But we're not here to devolve and get into that stupid shit. We're here to break down the episode and tell you why it was still worthy and worthwhile, and why some of you are completely fucking wrong, because that was George Lucas. What we saw last week was George Lucas Star Wars, whether you want to believe it or not. Turn on the fucking prequels one more time. Watch a few episodes of the Clone Wars. Okay? That was Star Wars. That was George Lucas Star Wars. And it's okay if you didn't like it. All right? We're not here to tell you can't like stuff. But we are here to remind you, if you don't like Star Wars, fucking go away. Why would you do something you do not like? All right, Nick. What did you think about the TLJ of The Mandalorian?
I mean, until you told me, I didn't know that so many people hated it. I mean,
meltdowns left and right. Bunch of fucking man babies out there.
Yeah, like I don't partake in the online discourse around Star Wars or really anything fandom based, like even like video games or whatever else. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun little episode that was probably the most reminiscent piece of Star Wars content to the prequels that we've had since the prequels. I think it from everything from the aesthetic of Planzier 15 or whatever the name of the planet was.
Plazier 15.
Plazier, not Planzier. Plazier 15. The aesthetic of that was very prequel-esque, very Coruscant-y, especially in the, I guess you would call it like the entertainment or bar district. That chase that happened between Din and Bo and the B2, very reminiscent of things that we've seen in the prequel trilogy. So very different than what we've typically seen in The Mandalorian. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time on desolate planets. We've spent a lot of times in caves and bunkers and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool to get like a planetary location that was a lot more technologically advanced than what we typically see on planets like Navarro and Tatooine and shit like that. And I think that the overall tenor of the episode and the content of it was pretty strong. I thought it was a pretty fun episode all around.
Wow. Yeah, I'm with you, man. But I'll tell you what. I kind of have a sense for when the trolls are going to get riled up. And I was watching. I'm like, you know what? I have a feeling last Wednesday things could get a bit rocky, and I was right. But yeah, as Nick said, who gives a shit? I too found enjoyment in this episode, and you know, looking through my Ha notes. Remember, I'm writing shit down while I'm watching stuff. All you other dickheads are probably doing drugs, sitting in your bed, hanging out in your undies watching this. I'm taking notes. Like, this stuff is real life, okay? And that's why you listen to us, because we are that fucked up that I do spend that much time to make sure I'm analyzing these things correctly. And my first note, Nick, is felt very Star Wars-like, Lucas style, prequels, Clone Wars, etc. Story within a story to tell a tale about society. That's all Star Wars has ever been. And I know it is unique for an episode of The Mandalorian, but do we not like change every once in a while? The same people bitching about this change were the people in season 2 going, hey, every episode's just a fucking fetch quest. Now it's like, well, it's not The Mandalorian. Din, Grogu, the guy isn't the leader. It's like, what the fuck do you, I mean, what do you want? This is Star Wars, people. It's fucking Star Wars. Like, how could you not see George Lucas's stamp over this episode? And it is no surprise that this was BDH's. I mean, BDH is essentially his niece. I would imagine this was the episode that George visited for season 3, because it is reported that he has made it to set every season. Okay, so I enjoyed it, but I deep down, I knew that this one would fuck people over because of the cameos. Because of how Christopher Lloyd was used, because of, again, we had a slight departure from the main Mandalorian journey, and because some of these people forget that serialized TV does not give you everything every week. You do have to wait. You do have to allow a plot to be built up. You do have to allow for storylines to be grown into something that can then be shared with everybody, okay? So this shit where, season 3 is all over the place, it's going nowhere, Din is nobody now. Just fucking watch, all right? You got 8 episodes to get through this thing. Just calm down, okay? Don't light yourself on fire over one episode. Life is not that bad, okay? And if it is, why the fuck are you still watching Star Wars? This is something I'll never understand, Nick. I mean, it's like, you and I know if we touch something hot, it's going to burn us. So I would like to think we're intelligent enough to stop doing that. Sadly, I don't think that's the case for some Star Wars fans. It's just like they want to be angry.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal for me, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for this. So as people are now calling out, and as even Rick Famuyiwa said during Celebration, I believe that the titular character of the Mandalorian is no longer Din Djarin. I said this, and literally, I think it was
someone pull this up and send him all the trophies in the backlog that should have been coming to me, because he is right. Nick's been fucking calling this, I think, before season 1 even aired.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, like, by the very latest, by like midway through season 1, I'm like, well, here's what's going to happen in this show is that, the Mandalorian is going to change meaning as the show goes on. And it has, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I mean, I think it really depends on what kind of Star Wars fan you are. There are a lot of people who are fans of the Mandalorian television show, and that's probably about the extent of their fandom. There's a lot of people who are fans of Star Wars in general and the lore that is built around Star Wars characters, the Star Wars universe.
That's probably me.
I feel like the people who like take umbrage with this episode, and in particular the direction that the show is going with the Mandalorian title transitioning away from Din and more towards Bo. Those are probably fans who are like newer fans of the Mandalorian, fans of the character of Din. And I get it. Like, you were watching a show that was about a guy and a Yoda baby, and then the focus changes over to a woman's quest to essentially rebuild
I
her
think
society.
That's the main problem. It's the W word. It is that because hey, Din and Grogu are still in the Mandalorian last time I checked, right? And they're still like a main focus for the most part, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, what's most important is that you get plot furthering. I rarely, if ever, look. Like, I definitely don't look for Star Wars feedback online. Sometimes it comes across a feed of mine, and then I read it. One thing that I read, and it may have been the only thing that I read prior to like us going live about the episode, is, well, now it's just going to be big lore dumps in Star Wars lore, and they were saying that in like a negative.
Yeah, it's like, well, what the fuck? What do we watch this shit for?
Yeah, so like, to the people out there who like have this feeling, well, it's just going to be Star Wars lore now. It's not going to be the Mandalorian. Well, that's kind of what the show is about, What
the fuck?
The show is about Star Wars lore. The show is about building storyline connective tissues between different eras of Star Wars, closing out threads, opening up different threads, and seeing them through to completion. So like, I mean, I can see why, if you are a fan of Din and Grogu, that you could be upset at it. But like, I would urge you to see this, to watch these episodes and really see what's happening in a cultural and like historical sense for Mandalorian society. Try to look past just like individual characters and more at the big picture, because I think that this season so far has, at least up to this point, has done a good job of setting up what is to come for Mandalorians in the future. You know, now we have some potentially some resolution for the Darksaber stuff that happened at the end of this season, which sets up a massive opportunity for reconciliation between different Mandalorian tribes and an actual cultural renaissance for the Mandalorian people. So as much as you can say that this episode had some, you know, whatever, like, you know, some goofy bits, you know, with Jack Black and Lizzo.
There was a big black woman in it, Nick.
In their little tea party. You know, I think that the end of this episode in particular has really forged the path forward. Yes,
for the bullshit's over. This season. The bullshit's over. Yeah. All right, the Mandalorian bullshit is over. So I know some of you little cocksuckers like Justin and Devin, you've seen the next episode, and I've purposely had you not tell us anything. But I have a feeling that some of these dummies after tomorrow are going to be sitting there going like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Dave Filoni for president. Jon Favreau's Jesus. You know, I mean, that's just how it is. It's like they flip on a dime. But back to the whole Darksaber thing, one of the ha moments I had before we get into tops and whatnot. But I kind of dug... I really dug Axe Woves. I mean, I don't understand why that guy didn't get many speaking lines in season 2, because Simon's pretty fucking good. Definitely better than Casca and Sasha Banks. I mean, she obviously looks better, but she still, even in this season, doesn't quite feel like a natural actor to me. But Simon kicks ass. But the important thing here, Nick, and what I wrote down, is that I didn't quite realize how hung up on Bloodline and the Darksaber purebred Mandalorians were. So I appreciated that scene to remind us that, you know, the Children of the Watch, they're zealots for the Creed, where the Bloodline Mandos, the pure Mandos, they're zealots for the fucking Saber, and we have now eliminated that bullshit and married the crews together. So as Nick said, that's done. The dominoes have fallen now, or have begun to fall. So now they can start folding in the remnant shit that has to come. You know, we haven't seen anything with the remnant outside of what Kane is doing on the New Republic and that stinger at the end of episode 5 when Tiva is looking at that down Lambda class shuttle. You know, obviously the chase with the TIE interceptors. But that chase itself alluded early in the season that the remnant is paying attention to the Mandalorians. Specifically Bo-Katan. And you would think now that she has united with the Watch, reunited with her mercenary Mandos, has the Darksaber, they're all going, whoever sent that flotilla, or not flotilla, or, you know, yeah, fuck it, who cares, flotilla of TIE interceptors after Bo and blew up her house, they're probably going, fuck, we really need to up the plan. Hence, probably why they're trying to put a shiv in between or a divide in between the New Republic and Mandalorians. But we really need to ramp up our plan, our master plan. All these warlords. Is Gideon the commander of all the warlords? Are we going to hear Thrawn talk now that that's out of the bag with the Ahsoka reveals? But that's where we're at. Because the remnant now has to react to the end of episode 6. Bo's redemption is damn near complete at this point in time. She has finally ascended to the leadership role, checking all of the weird boxes that Mandalorian culture requires, right, Nick? She's following the way, and now she earned the Darksaber via combat. No one can fucking question her anymore that wears a bucket on their head that isn't called a stormtrooper. So, as much as we want to complain about the Darksaber technicality, and Tones did say in our Discord, and by the way, if you want to join, it's open. You can find the link, Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Just check the bio. But Tones did say that when we were breaking down episode 2, I did point out that Bo technically should be the owner of the Darksaber, since she beat someone in combat, and that thing did take it from Din. So, I guess we could save that for a top moment and a deeper discussion. But I just wanted to get up the axe and just how focused his kind are on blood. Like, hey, if you're not born of Mandalorian blood, you're just a fucking goofy guy like Din. And how focused they were on the Darksaber. But now all that shit's taken care of, thanks to Lizzo and Jack Black. The other thing, I know we all want to bitch about them, but one thing you may have missed, one of their agreements with Bo and Din was, hey, if you help us, we as Plazier 15 will help Mandalore get New Republic protection through a petition. So there was some bonuses outside of just being allowed to go talk to their own kind on Plazier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of steps forward taken in this episode. You also got a little bit more character exploration from Din, especially his reaction to the droids when they were at the assembly line. Like you could still see his heavy disdain for droids even after having been saved by one. Those wounds still run deep. But yeah, I mean, overall, was it the best episode of The Mandalorian? No, but I think that there was a lot of fantastic plot forwarding and character movement that happened in this episode. And it would be like, it's pretty short-sighted to like look at this and say that, oh, this was stupid, nothing happened.
Yeah,
like,
get the fuck out of here.
Or anything of that nature. I think that this episode in particular is literally like the setup for the penultimate and then the final episode, and seeing where our Mandalorian heroes go from here, because almost assuredly now that we've gotten the stinger from the a previous episode where we see the Mandalorian Beskar and the ship that was transporting Gideon to his trial, like that is almost for sure going to come up again before the end of the season. Will it be a stinger that leads into season 4? Who knows? But now we have a united faction of Mandalorians, and we have a clear, like a force out there in the galaxy that is trying to discredit all they're trying to build. So I think that they've done a really good job of like building towards what could be a very action-packed finale for this season.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, come on. We know episode 7 is going to be about 50 minutes. Devin and Justin confirmed because they saw that celebration. They're like, yeah, definitely about 45 without credits. I'd imagine 8's going to be the same. These final 2 episodes are also helmed by Rick, who helmed the opening of season 3. So the fact that they kept the same director to punch out the season means that it probably is going to be a very cohesive tale, race to the finish. So I'm super excited, and the reason I am because episode 6 set more things up, put more things in motion, resolved a few things to allow 7 and 8 to take place. Okay, can we all just agree that that's how this stuff works? Serialized means it builds upon the last, right? It's okay. It is okay. And it's okay if the guy with the dick and balls isn't the champion all the time, all right? I mean, let's really get into the Din thing. I mean, I know my man over here, he's never felt like Din is meant to be a leader. I kind of was like, yeah, sure, why not? But Nick has always been right. Din's never won the lead. The guy still can't pick up the fucking lightsaber without it feeling like it's a 50-ton blade. He's not meant for it. He was never meant to lead. Din, as Nick said, he's a bullet sponge and a great champion of a cause. He's a great follower. And yeah, hey, he's done some amazing things. I'm not trying to castrate him here, but Bo-Katan is way more suited for the leadership role than Din Djarin ever could have dreamed of being. Not that I don't think he ever even dreamed of that. Din is so far removed from wanting to lead Mandalore that it does make sense where this stuff is going with Bo. I mean, let's be real. If you've been here since Clone Wars, you know full well Bo is the rightful heir at this point in time. Hey, just real quick before we get into the top stuff, I did like the society commentary, Nick, and I saw there was two things. Maybe this is too woke for some people, but I felt like this episode in particular was asking two questions to us as humans. The one being, what if we could have a society that decided to dedicate all of its resources towards its people and growth versus a military? What would that look like? Would it look like Plazier 15? Is it even achievable? I know it's not on this earth with these humans, but it's an interesting theory to think about. You know, if you think about what if the United States, instead of taking all of our tax money and dumping it into our strong military, what if we actually invested in our people and infrastructure? Where would we be at this point in time? Would we be flying fucking X-Wings by now? I mean, I think it's a legitimate question. If we actually pulled our resources for good, you know, I'm not one of these no war type of people, but let's be real. We spend an inordinate amount of tax money on the war machine. What if we start investing that into our people? Okay.
Yeah. I think that like Star Trek also, like the basis of Star Trek.
That's actually, all it is life lessons.
Yeah, exactly. Like before Star Trek could like be achieved, like there was one like crowning achievement that made the world of Star Trek possible, and it was the replicator. Like if you go back and you like listen to some like podcasts or like experts talk about Star Trek, like the one thing that enabled Star Trek to do what it did, which was like have society focused on the furthering of the human species and not just on day-to-day tasks, was the replicator. Like the replicator came out, it could recreate anything, which then put the need for work off of the mat. You didn't need to work anymore. You ran out of bread, you hit the replicator button for bread. Bread is there, you don't have to pay for it. So like this, it's a similar thing that's going on in this society. Like you have now given humans the ability to pursue their interests, dreams, and desires, and you see a society that's flourishing. I mean, outside of, you know, this little hiccup that's happened with the droids because of Hellgate, the society itself was thriving very
Nick,
much so.
You're actually hitting on the second story within a story, and that is our reliance on technology and how society will collapse without it. I mean, that was the other thing they were trying to position to us in this episode, especially with Hellgate, is like, you know, I want to, I don't like what Bombardier is doing here, so I'm going to fuck it up. And that's why they wouldn't turn off the droids to just solve the problem, because he's like, well, no one will know what to do. So I dig that type of stuff. I mean, anytime Star Wars can get me thinking about real life in an interesting and flashy way, sure, why the fuck not? All right, let's get down with some of the top moments, and of course we'll get into the Easter eggs, and if we come up on any other topics that require some I'll make sure to hit my list. All right, but let's get down to it. Let's go ahead and switch ourselves into full screen mode, because that's what the fans like to see. They don't like our fat heads. So here we go. Full screen in effect. Oh my God, the full screen's completely broken. Hold on, timeout. We just got to do a quick change here. Safari. All right, see? No big deal, people. Everyone calm down, calm down. Please calm down. All right, so as we always do here, we kind of let you know how we feel about it. Got a little into the weeds, but that's fun. That's what we do on the Star Wars Time Show. So let's go ahead and start with the top moments here. And I know my first one is really going to burn some people's asses. Although I think most of our fans, they understand. They're like, whatever, dude. It's just Matt. But I'm going with the whole Jack Black Lizzo fucking Tea Party pitch. I was just like, holy shit. Like visually, it was very stimulating for me at 5:00 in the morning last Wednesday. Just seeing how, you know, especially if you compare it to a lot of how the Mandalorian typically looks. I mean, unless they're on an outside planet, everything's pretty dark and dingy. So seeing the brightness to Plazier 15, I mean, it even felt futuristic for Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like it felt even beyond some of the technology that we've seen on other planets. But I loved everything about their meeting. I mean, I could watch Jack Black in anything. I mean, the guy's a fucking hero. Anytime a short fat man can, you know, become a Mac Daddy like Jack has done, I'm always down for that, because I too am a short fat man. I liked Lizzo's deal, and I've actually I like the fact that she's in it even more after I've learned after the fact that she's been a huge fan of Star Wars through her own father. I mean that's the type of stuff I wish I could achieve myself, but unfortunately I suck at rapping and I can't sing and I can't play the flute, so I'm probably not going to get any cameos anytime soon. But Nick, this felt like fucking George Lucas Star Wars through and through from start to finish. The moment they walk into those doors, see the grand hallway, the helmetless stormtroopers, Lizzo's Duchess character with that floating dress thing behind her. Just, I don't know. It was visually unique and stunning to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fun little setting to walk into. And it was something that was like, starkly unexpected, especially given like how they moved there, like how they got to that location. Because you're like, okay, well, like there's Imperial droids here. They're getting on this thing. Like their ship has been taken over. They're forced to go in this direction, and then you end up where you end up. You're like, wow, this is definitely
unexpected. You figure they're going to like a prison or something, or they're going to be put to task. But no, you go to this bubbly king and queen type of figures, and I don't know. They were just. I liked it. I mean, people are like, there can't be celebrity cameos in Star Wars. It's like, well, have you been watching Star Wars TV for the past few years? Because, I mean, let's be real. I mean, Pedro himself was cast because of his star was rising in Game of Thrones and Narcos and whatnot. So what are we talking about? You know, it's not like Pedro was some no-namer or Katie or Carl, right? Come on. It's fucking Star Wars, people. Suspend your beliefs every once in a while. Okay, so next top moment, I'm going with the B2 chase. But first, I loved it. This just kind of reinforces Nick's thoughts on Din, that he is a little goofy, maybe a little slow. But I like Din's method of trying to sniff out the screwed up B2. Where he's literally just sitting there. He's like doing John Cena's "you can't see me" shit in front of their face. And then he literally just starts, drop kicking their knee joints to see if they'll fall out of line and do something. But
I mean, honestly, it was very reminiscent. If you remember the iRobot movie with Will Smith, it's the same thing that he did when he was in that, like right in the beginning of the movie when like the sentient droid runs away and he's looking for it. He's standing in a room full of droids that all look the same. And he goes up to like a bunch of them and puts a gun up to their head. And then he sees the one that moves. Yeah. And he's like, and then, so he like did the same thing. They jacked that straight from iRobot.
Yeah, it just really, I mean, that was fun. And obviously, this was an aha moment, but I love Din's line of, you had me at battle droids. That was vintage Din. I mean, hey, if anything, Din's dropped some dad jokes or dad lines this season quite expertly. But really, the chase itself was pretty damn cool. I think this might have been one of the first times Lateef really got some screen time this season. Yeah. Because that's definitely Lateef running. That's not Brendan. Brendan, he got himself a little bit of a belly this season, I think, and he definitely doesn't do the action stuff. But how was it seeing a fucking B2 take off like that? You got to wonder why Dooku and the Techno Union and the Geonosians didn't enable that type of speed on the battlefield. Because imagine if you had, like, at the end of the Battle of Geonosis where the B1s and the B2s had that type of speed. I mean, see you later. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I don't care if you got Jedi or fucking clones. If you've got a battalion of metal things running at you at the pace of a missile, you're fucked.
Yeah, you gotta move. I mean, I don't know, because it's all like the battle droids in the prequels were very like Civil War, like where it's like stand in row, walk forward,
march, fire, march, fire. You're exactly right. That's why I was like, Jesus. I mean, come on, what's wrong? I mean, I guess you could argue Palpatine by design wanted them to fail, but shit.
Yeah, so they're supposed to lose.
I mean, if they would have just let those B2s be themselves, things could have got a little more ugly for the Jedi. Maybe, hell, Order 66 might have not even been needed. It was a cool chase, and it played into, I've seen a lot of people like, this is like Star Wars CSI or Star Wars Law and Order. Yeah, sure. It was. I thought it was. That's why I thought it was enjoyable, because it was such a departure from like the typical stuff that we're seeing in the Mandalorian, like jump around, look for something, go back, jump around, look for something, go back, fetch quest style storylines. And I thought that this was like a little crime procedurally, and I thought it worked very well. Well, you know what else, Nick? And it's not a top moment, but I found the scene and the interactions with the Ugnaughts to be very poignant in showing that Din really does know how to navigate the galaxy and the various alien species within it way better than Bo-Katan. Like Bo-Katan, yes, she is royal. She's led before. She is a natural leader. But Din, especially the way he handled the Saphir, the little female Ugnaught there, the main one talking, I believe played by Misty, who plays a lot of the shorter characters in the series. But you saw how Din kind of handled that whole situation. Bo gets off the elevator and she's like, all right, motherfucker, yeah, your droids are fucking shit up. And Din gets them all to look up. They just ignore her. They're like, whatever, shut the fuck up, we're working. Din comes out and pretty much says, you will listen to me. I'm Din Djarin and I know Kuil. I have spoken. They're like, oh, fuck. This guy knows the lingo. So they sit down, talk, and he gets a deal done. So I had that in Ha. I mean, we can make fun of Din for being a bullet sponge and not being able to hold the Darksaber, but the dude, as he has told Grogu, 100% knows how to navigate the galaxy better.
He's got some social skills.
Yes, which is surprising for a dude that's been in a helmet since he was 10. So
yeah, exactly.
Good for him, Din. And it was great to see his time with Kuil did not go wasted. Okay, and then my last top moment from this episode obviously is going to be Bo's challenge. I dug it, and I like that they had to go through some hoops to get there. It didn't feel as jarring as episode 3, where it's like, hey, Din and Bo, kick-ass dogfight, cut to black, Coruscant, Pershing for 35 minutes, hey, back to the Mandos. It felt more natural. They did had to, get through some red tape, thanks to the king and the duchess. But they get there, and we have a challenge. It went as I expected. Of course, Axe Woves is not going to be like, oh, Bo, you're back, thank God, here. I don't want to be leader anymore. I mean, Mandalorians, you would think, by nature, are all alphas. You know what I mean? Girls, boys, don't matter. They're all alphas. So I like that a challenge had to go down, and it was a good fight. I thought it was a good fight between the two. It showcased once again that Bo-Katan really is a fucking badass. I mean, she can do it all. She can do the Darksaber. She can do the hand-to-hand combat. She can do the blasters. You name it, she does it well, and she does it while looking great. But I thought Axe was good in this. I mean, we got a bit more behind his eyes and his beliefs.
Yeah.
Even when he lost, you could tell, Nick, he was fucking bummed out. He's like, ancient creed that we have all strayed from. You cocksuckers only care about the Darksaber, so on and so forth. And then obviously that's when Din comes in and drops the truth here. And we see the exchange of the Darksaber. So Nick, I mean, this is something you and I were both kind of curious about. You so maybe even more than me. Did you appreciate how the Darksaber changed hands? Were you like, or did you want to see a fight?
It was... Oh no! I figured there wasn't going to be a fight, because, like we said, we had discussed that in the episode where it may have been even jokingly that we said it. I mean, like, because I remember the specific conversation where we're like, well, technically, this thing is now the owner of the Darksaber because it beat Din, and then
took it from him.
Bo comes in and kills this thing. So we're like, technically. I don't know how, like, because we were even unsure. We were like, we don't know if this is how it works, if there needs to be a formal challenge or whatever it was. But like, technically, she won it by combat. No surprise there. What'll be interesting is like, how much does that actually mean? I mean, like, it seems like the Creed followers. I don't know what we're calling these factions now. I don't know if the Creed followers even really give a shit about the Darksaber. It seems like they didn't.
That's what I was saying earlier. Okay, so to me, the Creed, they're more concerned, or the Watch, I guess, the Children of the Watch, they're more concerned about the Creed, the Way, and helmets. where the bloodline Mandos, as we'll call them, the Blues, the Night Owls, they're more concerned with blood right and darksaber lore. Fair, right?
Yeah. I mean, I still think that the darksaber, just in an overall sense, is a bad thing for Mandalorian society, because it still puts you in a position to where
you can be challenged at any time. Yeah,
because it's like, okay, well, your society is not based off of anything that is like cogent. It's also not a democratically based system. It's just whoever can beat up whoever, and oftentimes that will lead to exactly what happened to Mandalorians in the recent past, where like, well, somebody wins the darksaber that shouldn't have it.
You end up with a Maul. Like, you literally end up with a Maul as leader. That's what happens.
So like,
here.
So I think that, you know, it was poignant how it was just a handoff, and now she's the official leader. But I still think that the darksaber should be fucking set on fire or thrown into the deep ocean or tossed out into space, because it's only going to lead to more bullshit for Mandalorians in the future.
It does seem to be a cursed relic, family heirloom, whatever you want to call it. It has not brought the planet and the society much good. That's for damn sure. But Nick, I mean, it had to happen. You could tell if she was not wielding that, even being bested in combat, the Night Owls weren't going to be fully bought in. But once she got it and acquiesced to Din's technicality, you could see they purposely showed some of the random Mandos, and they were all like, yep, fucking works for me. Sign me up. Bo's my leader again. So it had to happen, even though you are correct. The darksaber and some of the rituals, traditions behind it are not doing Mandalorians any favors.
No, yeah. I mean, it will always be a bane on Mandalorian society, regardless of whether or not regardless of how long any one person reigns. It will never be good for Mandalorian society that the way that you become a leader is just beating up the
challenging
other
people. Like, oh, I don't like how this is going. I'm going to fucking fight you for it and kill you, maybe.
It's like, okay. So,
nope.
Like, congratulations. Like, you beat up like, if Bo gets to whatever, 85 years old.
Yeah.
And then
let's get
is still the leader. And then some just like some complete asshole 20-year-old that everybody hates, like, walks up to her and is like, I challenge you, and wins.
Look at this, like, old bag.
What is your society? Yeah, it's like, what does your society have to say about that? Like, is that just, well, that's how it goes?
Yeah, fuck it.
Like, it's just
it's in the Mandalorian Bible. She loses. So, sorry, geezer. Get your saggy tits off the throne.
I would hope by that point that they would have amended some of their Mandalorian constitution or whatever the fuck they have to be like, you know what? Maybe it's not who holds the sword.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we did this during our things we want to see or happen, but I know you and I have talked about the whole darksaber, and we were like, listen, they need to, whoever ends up with it, they need to resolve this fucking thing and either put it in a museum or change the script, because it's not doing them justice. It's not doing them any favors. But she's got it, and she looks good wielding it. And look at this, Din. She can hold it with one hand, and it's not taking her whole body down to the grass. I am glad that they still had him pull it out one more time and use it, because he still could barely even kill that fucking interrogation droid with it. It's just like the dude. It wasn't meant to be. Just wasn't meant to be.
No. Wasn't meant for him.
All right, so that's the top moments. I did want to comment on here, and I know most people probably threw up, but I definitely smiled and absolutely loved Grogu and Lizzo together, especially when she's like, can I see the baby? And Din's like, nah, fuck it, he doesn't like people. And she wiggles the little fish at him, and he jumps right up like a little fatso, and he's like, blip, blip, and she just keeps feeding him the whole time. Hell, he became a knight. How about that? I mean, Grogu is a legitimate knight of Plazier 15. I don't know if that's ever going to be called on again, but I love that little egg at the end. That little, hey, this has happened. So Grogu now has been trained by a Jedi. He's learning to become a Mandalorian, and the motherfucker is a knight, all before he can even speak. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's got a lot of accolades.
Eat that, Yoda. What did your resume look like when you were 55? You lazy ass. All right, good stuff there. Okay, let's go through some of the eggs and whatnot. There was a good amount. Obviously, we've discussed some of the cameos here, but let's get into some of the minutia. And this week, I actually remembered to scroll on down so we can look at some images. Yay for Matt! Yay for Matt!
Bruh.
All right, so first things first. Before we even get into this, I absolutely love the opening and how the Corran ship looks like their fucking head. Okay, like just look at that brown ship coming through. It's literally shaped like their head, but
very organic.
Just the whole open was just such Star Wars George Lucas-y. I mean, just a random thing to kind of kick into the story. But I loved how their ship looked like their heads, and I also enjoyed the nod to the whole Mon-Cal Corran War and Forbidden Love. I mean, that goes all the way back to the Clone Wars. That's something this planet has been dealing with since the dawn of time. And these are two underwater species that can't coexist. Even after the fall of the Empire, they're still fucked up. So I was a big fan of that. But getting into the eggs and whatnot, just how cool is it, Nick, that she's sitting in a fucking aquarium to start because she is an aquatic species. I don't know. I love that they went there. You know what I mean? Like that Star Wars. I always
wondered that too. Yeah, I always wondered about that with like Admiral Raddus and all of the Mon Calamari and Corran out there that are just like on ships in the middle of space. Do you have your own tank? Like, do you have like in your captain's chambers on the ship? Do you have like a water tank that you just hang out in while you're not on the bridge?
Does she have to go in the tank to stay alive, or is this just like because she's captain? It's like her ready room, or like a treat. You know what I mean? It's just like a treat. They don't need it, but if you can have it, it's way better to be sitting in a tank than sitting in your chair. You know what I mean?
100%.
I don't know, like Sir Dork is saying, unnecessary but awesome detail. Like this is the type of shit I love about Star Wars, just randomness, like this female Corran captain sitting in a tank eating goldfish in it. That was like, wow, that's kind of fucking new. But the reason we're talking about her is not because of how she likes to travel. It's because one of her helmsmen or whoever said something about Trask. That's where they're headed. If you remember, Trask was the planet from Mandalorian Season 2 that he took Frog Lady to and ended up meeting the Night Owls and starting his relationship, which could become more than just a partnership with Bo-Katan. So there was a reason for this. Up next, sticking with the Corrans, and how'd you like that, Nick? I mean, any man would love to have their woman caress their face with her tentacles. You know what I mean? Like, that is some sexy shit. That is sexy.
Oh, yeah.
But the hear me out. One of these I'm kind of taking a long shot on. But if you go back to season 1, you remember the bounty Din was given before he decided to rescue Grogu? It was for a Mon-Cal nobleman. So I'm wondering if this character, this prince, was the same bounty that Din gave up, and then obviously the mercenaries took it on. But
that would be a long time to wait to get that bounty done. But yeah, I mean, it almost for sure is a callback.
Yeah, it seemed it may line up and may not. But since I'm saying it, go ahead and consider it gospel. But the real reason we're talking about the prince is he was played by Harry Holland, Tom Holland's brother, Spider-Man. So there you go.
Interesting.
Always interesting tidbits that no one gives a shit about, but I do. So that's why you watch this, right? There's always time for Star Wars time. Like it. Hold on, I haven't done this in a minute. You got to do the old subscribe. There we go. Call to action, my friends. Call to action. Okay, so once we get to Plazier 15, Nick mentioned it. There was a bunch of Imperial droids, and one in particular was our good old Death Star droid, the RA-7 model. So that was fun. The super obvious cameos. I mean, come on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, but we had Jack Black and Lizzo portraying King Bombardier. I like both of these characters, and I would not mind going back to Plazier 15, and then Lizzo was the Duchess. So But, I mean, really, if you look at this scene, this whole scene is nothing but eggs and references. I mean, we had the frog species are in there, the Bith are in there. You got some Ithorians, some Rhodians, some Solistans, some Ishi fucking Tibbs. Yeah, I know my shit! Let's do it! They were drinking like some animal's like fluid up top. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but all sorts of crazy shit in there. Not to mention helmetless stormtroopers. You gotta like that. Yes, they are wearing stormtrooper armor. They just ditched the helmets in favor of a pauldron and some sort of like frock that goes over the front. So lots of nice little callbacks there in this scene. Hey, we've been wondering for I think over a year now who Christopher Lloyd was playing. We were hoping he was going to be some old crusty Mandalorian leader, but he turned out to just be some crazy ass holdover from the Separatist era, Commander Hellgate. But it's still fun to see the old man. I mean, that's Christopher Lloyd. I mean, you get what you get. I mean, that was fucking Doc there, man. He was just missing the hair. You know what I mean? I mean, it's still Doc. That's Christopher Lloyd. He's the same guy in every fucking thing, and that's why we love him.
Yeah, no, I think he did a great job, honestly. I think he really killed the role that he was given. I think he played it well. Obviously, I mean, Christopher Lloyd is in his mid-80s now, so you can't expect him to be in action-packed scenes and stuff like that. But I think that he did a really great job of embodying that character. So yeah,
I'm going to give Mr. O'Dizzle, try to give him some coverage here. Email me, which I love. Please, if you ever want to send us feedback and you're not here in the live stream on Tuesdays, don't forget Tuesdays live stream 5p, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. But we do have a website. We have socials. Send us DMs. Send us feedback. We do like it. We got some good ones, or two this week, actually. So thank you. But O'Dizzle, he was asking Nick if we still do Swago and if he could guild up. And I'm like, bro, Nick quit many years ago, and I'm in like a legit guild. Like my GP is almost 10 million, and he's like, "Well, mine's 800,000." I was like, "Yeah, we're not going to be able to bring you into mine." But maybe if anyone's out there and they need an 800,000 GP player, get in touch with our fan, Mr. O'Dizzle. All right, moving right along with our Easter eggs, references, cameos breakdown. I talked earlier about the scene with the Ugnaughts. Saphir was played by, I think it was Misty Rosas, the one that was talking. How about that? A female Ugnaught kind of looks just like a male Ugnaught. Maybe slightly less crusty. They actually comb their hair a little bit, so I guess that was the difference. Yeah. But while we're talking about this, is I have no idea why I have this screen up. But anyways, there was a Carthon mention somewhere. I think that's why I have this screen.
Yes, there was.
There's a Carthon mention. If you forget where that was, that is the prison moon that Kara and company went to pick up Mayfeld from in season 2. So there you go. There was a reason I had this screen up, and I'm glad I remembered it. When Din and Bo go to investigate the docks and see what's going on with the droids, we get to see some B2s and some B1s. But more importantly, we just get a flat-out Clone Wars mention when Bo's like, I haven't seen this many battle droids since the Clone Wars. We all know that stuff is fun. Yep. And Nick, this next one was the biggest of the episode, dare I say the season. But the Vespas have returned, and now they are painted white to match the Plaisir aesthetic. I know you Book of Boba Fett fans and haters were like, God damn, there they are. This is where they belong, not on Tatooine. And you know what? That's a fair assessment. Star Wars scooters are definitely more suited for Plaisir 15 than the desert.
I like the bright colors.
Yeah, see,
I wish the bright red one was
here. It's like red, green, blue. Yeah, man, it was the colors of the rainbow, Skittles. But there they are, the Vespas that caused so many people so many nights of lost sleep during the Book of Boba Fett. But they are back. The droid bar, it's like Jesus. I mean, who wasn't there? We had the rickshaw droids. We had, who else was there? We had the Rex droids from Star Tours. Speaking of Star Tours, finally getting a new adventure. A new Rex is coming. The Rex graduated Star Tours. He's the DJ at the bar now in Galaxy's Edge. I mean, you pretty much had every fucking Star Wars droid you could think of at the bar. And I will agree with some people. Huge missed opportunity to not have the bartender say, "We don't serve your kind here."
We don't serve you. I literally, like, as everything stopped, I was like, they're going to say, "We don't serve your kind here."
Yeah.
But I think they already kind of like played at that a little bit in the original season of The Mandalorian, when they walk into Mos Eisley Cantina and like the bartender there was now a droid. So it was already kind of like going back to that moment. But I still think that it would have been great if they did it.
Yeah. But I mean, look, you got 8D8 droids in here, protocol droids, B1s. I mean, it was all over the place. So, you know, if you're someone that's into the aliens and droids of Star Wars, this episode should have popped you a chub nice and hard, because it was loaded. And I will say, I think that fucking aqua blue protocol droid looked rad as hell. Like, C-3PO should reconsider his golden paint job, because that blue chrome was pretty freaking slick.
It was. It looked really good.
All right, how about this? I mean, it's kind of odd that droids need a morgue, but I guess when you have a problem going on, you want to keep them around to investigate. But we got to see a white, reformed interrogation droid. And who knew those motherfuckers could shoot laser beams out of their little prongs?
I know, right?
Like, geez. Why are you doing that? Like, you should just walk in and be like, "Hey, we're going to torture you." "Oh, yeah, whatever. You're just going to inject me in the neck." No, you just go, and like lop off a body part. Like, what are we doing with injecting shit in their neck? You know, Crosshair should have just had his fucking right arm cut off. You know, maybe
just start cutting off fingers.
Yeah, it's like, zip, 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 zip. That thing was great. You know, Din's like, "Oh, what if he crossed over?" He's like, "Blah!" It's like just blowing shit up all over the place. You know, Bo's getting nicked on the shoulder. And then our boy pulls out his 500-pound Darksaber to save the day. So thank you, Din. You were the man.
Wow.
Continuing with our breakdown. And this lady here, the doctor, the morgue lady, she's a comedian, by the way. I forget her name, but at this point,
I was struggling too, because I was like, I know who that is. Yep. I've seen this person in something before, but I could not place
it. She's mostly a comedian, but has been in other, you know, sitcom-y type of stuff. But the reason we're looking at her through this screen is she gave us a nice little Techno Union mention. You know, the little nanobots that were being used to freak out the droids were from the Techno Union, which was the group, the Separatist group, part of the Separatist group that dealt with turning Echo into a cyborg, as well as other battle droid improvements and whatnot. So, I mean, dude, this episode was just, it just leaned so hard into the prequels. So I found it odd that I believe prequel era fans were the most upset. But hey, such is life. Like I told you earlier, I think the reason prequel fans have become some of the angriest trolls in Star Wars is because all the trauma they took as little kids from older people like me. So I guess, what is it? Turnabout is fair play or whatever that is. Just calm down, people. Don't be like me. I lived with a lot of Star Wars anger after those prequels. And I can tell you my fandom is much less stressful now that I've let go some of that prequel hate. It just ain't worth it, man. Because they're not going away. Like, none of this stuff is ever going away. Like, you idiots are like, yeah, they're going to delete the sequel trilogy through all this. I was like, oh, yeah, well, then you get a fucking announcement Rey's coming back. So just calm down. Nothing's getting deleted. You just got to...
Nothing's getting deleted.
Live with it.
Nothing's getting...
Come to terms with it. Come to terms with it. You know, that's what I did with the Clone Wars. And still, really, the one movie, and in particular, just... something that happens, the narrative of Anakin's turn just will never sit well with me, but we don't have time for that bullshit. All right, so we're looking at Hellgate again because he gave us 2 mentions. I mean, who knew that there was, some Dooku motherfucking fanboys out there? I mean, he was like Team Dooku all the way. He reminded me of a Donald Trump supporter. I mean, we're talking, dude, we're talking 20 years at this point. Past Dooku's reign.
Shit.
And this guy's like, yeah, the Republic wasn't getting me. The Empire wasn't getting me. Dooku was a visionary.
What's surprising to me is that, like, it's way more than 20, because the reign of the Empire was 30 plus years, right? The reign of the Empire was almost exactly 30 years long.
Well, yeah,
this is probably 8 or 9 years past. It's probably almost 40 years that Dooku's been dead. So, and the fact that he's still holding on to this shit That's pretty zealotous.
Oh yeah, I mean,
say.
he even brought up to those goddamn Jedi foiling plans. I mean, he was completely bought into the ruse that the whole galaxy was given.
And I also like how he says, the separatist is a pejorative, where he called them something else. Like he was very quick to say, like, hey,
no, he said, I'm a lover of democracy, is what he said.
Yeah, lover of democracy. Yeah. So,
and he's really not wrong. Like, the funny thing is, as crazy as he is, he has been on the right side of things. If you do think about the Republic, because of Palpatine, was purposely infringing on the galaxy's freedoms, and then the Empire, clearly that was their MO. That's all they did, was infringe on people.
Yeah, it was infringe on freedoms.
Like, I guess I can kind of see it now why he would hold that grudge for so long, because he is a champion of democracy. It's just he kind of went about trying to prove his point in the wrong manner. We'll just leave it at that.
I mean 100%. So
all right, we got the Dooku.
I don't disagree with.
And then last but certainly not least, and this has become a saying throughout the Mandalorian. I think it's gotten dropped in every season of the Mando. Got dropped in the Book of Boba Fett. Hellgate gave it to us this year with the. Isn't that the quack to calling the stifling slimy line retort? So, we got to mention that now because it's become a saying thanks to the Mandoverse. So there you go. There is your breakdown for Guns for Hire, S3E6. Not as bad as you thought. Very Georgie. Maybe learn some lessons about our own society.
I think that George would watch this episode and be
smiling from fucking ear to ear the entire time.
Yeah, no, I think it really does kind of hit on everything that he said that Star Wars was. Star Wars is for kids. That's, like the whole opening of this and the characters that Jack Black and Lizzo played, this little tea party, the interactions with Grogu, all definitely pushing towards the children. Star Wars is about family. At the end of the episode, the family of Mandalorians, like the lost family of Mandalorians, kind of coming back together under one banner. I mean, this is George's Star Wars to a fucking T. I have to imagine that you may be right. If he was on set for one of these episodes this season, it was probably this one because of Bryce and her connection to George and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I know, most people after a BDH episode are singing her praises. Obviously, that wasn't the case this week, but I thought she did a fine job. I loved the direction of the episode. I mean, I think her cuts were great. I liked how, she sometimes you don't really understand what a director's doing. I mean, they're trying to take the words from a page and turn them into moving images, but you got to be able to tell a story too. So I liked some of her landscape scenery shots of a transition back into the little train car they were on. She did just fine. It was a fine episode, moved things forward, and it gets us to episode 7. So real quick, Nick, before we get into our detailed and I think very insightful Ahsoka teaser breakdown, what are we going to see tomorrow?
Yeah, I think tomorrow is going to be a reunion of the the two sides of the Mandalorian society. I think that from here, really, there's nowhere else for Din and Bo to go, at least mission wise, other than back to where the covert Mandalorians are, the Creed followers, the children of the Watch, and then start to. And then I think what'll happen from there is like they will probably start their move to repopulate or like come back to the actual planet of Mandalore. And I think that on Mandalore is where we will have the incursion of the Imperial Remnant forces or whoever's out there that is opposing the Mandalorians. Yeah. That's kind of my guess, is that we either by the end of episode 7, they will have like gotten to Mandalore, and then episode 8 will be like the one where shit goes down, or they'll get there a little bit earlier in episode 7, and then the conflict will start by the end of episode 7. So
this is never fun doing when a good portion of the world knows what actually happened, including some of our fans. So,
yeah, I know.
I'm not going to like spin my wheels too deep on this, but even last week we were wondering, okay, the whole Gideon and Remnant thing needs to be folded in very soon. We were wondering if 6 would be the episode. And we were like, if it's not 6, it's got to be 7 or 8. I don't think they're just going to hold him for 8. So I do think episode 7, with its runtime, spends a decent amount of time finally with the Remnant to kind of get caught up with what they've been doing the past 2 years. Gideon's grand plans. Was he the one keeping track of Bo, or is it another warlord? Will there be any mention of Thrawn being the heir to the Empire, which, again, we now know is a thing, thanks to Ahsoka. So I think we get that. And then from the Mando side, what else is there left to do? Do we see them return to Navarro with the fleet and muster the children? Do they go somewhere else to meet, or do they all just meet on Mandalore? That's what I'm unsure of. I'm not sure how the Mandalorians are all going to kind of muster and gather for the retaking of Mandalore.
It's like one of those things where you're like, you're two groups and you're meeting up and you're just calling each other. It's like, hey, do we want to meet at your house?
Right.
Do we want to meet at my house? Do we want to just meet at the movie theater? Like, what do we want to do?
Yeah, because you have to think some of the watch probably got left in the bunker because, Bo's gauntlet wasn't fitting in fucking that whole clan. So, does the fleet, now that they have the fleet, do they go back there and pick everyone up? I don't know. Like, that shit's not important. I think the pillars of this episode are going to be the Mandalorians putting the final touches on their plans to go retake Mandalore, and we finally get insights into the Remnant and their designs for the Mandalorians now that they've realized that they are coming back together. They're getting over some of their bullshit, which is going to be a major speed bump for whatever evil plans and deeds they have cooked up over there with the Remnant faction.
Yeah.
So, I kind of like what you were saying with maybe we do get to Mandalore by the end of this episode, and then the finale is nothing but stuff that takes place on Mandalore. I guess my question to you would be, if everything is set up and ready to go for the finale, the big Mandalorian whatever, do we potentially see the reunification, purification ceremony first, and then the Empire comes to fuck all that up? Or is that after a potential small victory against the Empire, they have a big celebration?
Yeah, I think it would be more fitting. I think it would be more fitting if it was like they get to Mandalore and then boom, the Empire descends like immediately, and then like instead of like having this period of time where it's like, oh, this weird handshake.
They're kind of forced to realize that they should work together.
Helmet. Yeah, like literally like trial by fire.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like I know that we haven't shaken hands on it and had our like, welcome back to the fold feast yet, but like there is shit that
we got to take care of business
right
first
now.
Before we have a party. Okay. Yeah, I like that too. I think either way could work. It would be interesting. Like these people, after all these decades being disparate clans, they finally get back together. They're happy. They're celebrating. They're unifying. And then the same faction that nearly blew up their planet and destroyed their culture comes in and rains on their parade. But I like your take too, where there's no time for nonsense. There's no time to kind of work on a new charter per se for Mandalorians. What's our mission statement? They just get right into the fucking the thick of things, and then they realize like, yeah, we are pretty great when we work together. Look what we just did.
Yeah, I think that was what I was gonna say. Is like there's no time. There would be no time for either faction to be like, oh well, are these people really worthy? It's like you prove like it's
let's
proven
all take
by
a bath.
Both sides immediately.
Let's all bathe in the living waters. Yeah. It's your turn now.
Like it's proven in combat immediately. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Okay. All right, dudes. Let's get into the Ahsoka breakdown. And boy, was that a treat on Friday, and really the biggest news coming out of Celebration. And as I said, if you are here listening. And you actually are listening, and you can make it through some of our sloggier episodes, you should have known a lot of this stuff coming at you. None of it, I think, is plot shattering. That's why we talk about some of these leaks on the show. But a lot of stuff that was revealed, we kind of knew. So some of the news, I'll just, before we get into the breakdown, just real quick, Nick, they finally officially made the cast, but we told you Diane Insanto was going to be back as Morgan. You know, Rey has been rumored to be involved. Ivana's been rumored to be involved. Mary Elizabeth, and we pretty much told you all the characters. I mean, we were leaning towards Mary being Hare, and sure enough, she is. And we just recently talked about the return of Morgan and how Baylan and Shin are tied with her. So it's nice to just get all that confirmed. We also learned that Ming Qi or Ming Shi, I forget how you pronounce Qui in the Chinese dialect, but the stunt coordinator there is playing that, which to me, we'll talk about, looked like an Inquisitor character that Ahsoka's squaring off against. We told you Lars was going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, and sure enough, that was made true. We got the new poster, and really, Nick, I think the only other thing that was new was we got a date, which, hey, if you've been listening to me over the past few weeks, I told you Ahsoka's probably going to take that Andor end of summer, early fall slot. Sure enough, August 2023 is the date. And last but not least, before we break down the trailer,
2024,
no, 23.
Right? Yeah, 2023. Yeah, no, you're
right. This summer,
okay,
buddy. Don't give me a heart attack. Like, come on. We're going from spoiled Star Wars podcasts of having new shows from January to March to now we're going to have, April. We're going to have like a 3-month break before we get Ahsoka. But hey, we know it's coming. And like I said, the last little bit of news, obviously Iman's confirmed as Ezra, but Kevin Kiner is doing the soundtrack, which I thought was kind of cool because he's kind of been with Dave throughout the animated Star Wars, and it makes sense that he made the transition over to Dave's first live action project. So, all right.
I will say the only thing that I'm just going to go out and say, and I've said this before, this is why I hate leaks, because this was the most I should have been excited for this, and I saw it. And I was like, yeah, this is everything that we heard fucking a year ago. Like, leakers, honestly, go get a fucking real job. Like, go do something and not spoil shit. Because leakers literally made this entire celebration so uninteresting because we knew everything that was.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame the leakers. I'd blame the assholes that are giving up the leaks, because I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I mean, as
someone that would like to one day get some recognition for all this Star Wars work, you got to find the leaks. I mean, sadly, that's where the clicks are at for a site like ours. But yeah, I mean, it does rob you of joy. That's why these days, when I'm over on leaks, I don't really get into the deep, nitty-gritty plot stuff. Like, I could have read all about Episode 7 Mandalorian. I could have read about the finale of Mandalorian, but that stuff I leave alone. If it's just characters that we could speculate on, we don't really know the meat of it, sure, I'm going to talk about it. But let's get into the trailer. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I liked the look of it. Again, kind of like the season of Mando, it didn't feel confined to just the volume. It felt like a world. It felt like a world that we know. I mean, seeing live action Lothal, awesome. Knowing Sabine's still in Ezra's home, awesome. But let's get down to it, because I got some notes, did a breakdown. Obviously, if you want to watch the full breakdown and get it quicker than just listen to our dumbasses, it's been up on YouTube/Star Wars Time Show. All right, so here we go. We're about to break this thing down, and I think I did a pretty damn good job because we know more than most people. But Nick, it opens up with Ahsoka like in this temple sort of location, and I think from some of the imagery, it's pretty clear this temple, this location has ties to the world between worlds. You can really see that imagery once she cuts herself using, might I add, a patented Ahsoka Tano move with lightsabers and cutting a hole in the ground and falling through. She hasn't done that. This isn't the first time she's done it. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, I'm looking at the second slide here. If you're on the live stream, we have stills for you to look at. If not, you can pull up StarWarsTime.net as you listen. But I think I'm on the second slide, Nick. It's right when she throws her swords down. Based on some subsequent scenes in the trailer, I think this is taking place after she battles those Morgan Elsbeth droids that we saw from season 2 of The Mandalorian. And I'll show you why, because she's essentially fighting them right here at this circle and then she cuts it. So I think she has.
Oh wait, you can if you go when we get to it, you can see that there's already a hole in the ground when she's fighting him.
I thought the symbol was back. So good catch. Anyways, yeah, she's going there. In this shot I have up now, there you go. There's the World Between Worlds imagery, just in case you weren't getting it from the temple and some of the fallen columns here. King of Sanity saying, have we gotten on the subject of Lizzo's fun bags yet? No, we have not. And yes, they were big. So there you go, buddy. Fun bags. That's always, that is a classy name to refer to breasts. I actually have some fun bags myself. All right. So as this is going on, Nick, Ahsoka is saying something's coming, something dark. I sense it. And we get a shot of Sabine, and I think many people notice she's let her hair grow out. Nick, she's kind of staring at her helmet, and you got to wonder, do you think Sabine has kind of been in seclusion all these years and maybe not even following her Mandalorian clan at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. It doesn't seem like. I mean, she was already like barely a Mandalorian. She already she had a bad relationship with her parents during
the
Rebels.
death ray and was kind of exiled anyway. So
yeah, they were like, you know what, you probably shouldn't come back. But I think that's likely what happened. Is like she had a new family.
Yeah,
like
was
the family
crew
that she. Yeah, that she made with the Ghost Crew, especially her and Ezra's relationship was very close. And then when Ezra was lost, I mean, she wanted to dedicate her life to finding these guys. Like, we have to.
She moves into his place. I mean, she literally moves the Lothal into the tower he was living in.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's been 20 years at the very least?
No, not for these people. You gotta remember, Ezra and them, they were during the original trilogy, so we're about 9 years.
No, because it was. Well, yeah, I guess so. Because no. Right,
hold on, we're all fucked up.
Started.
Yeah, so
no,
let's see.
It was episode.
Yeah, probably about 14 years or so.
Yeah, almost 20 years, kind of outside, because it was episode 4 It was 0 ABY, like it was the first year of the new calendar or whatever. Right. And then the first season of The Mandalorian took place 7 ABY. Right.
And now we're 2 years. 2 years.
No, it was.
Here, I figured it out. Mandalorian, where we're at right now in the Mandalorian's timeline, we're 9 years beyond Return of the Jedi. Okay, so 9 plus. We got to argue the original trilogy probably took about 5 years if we had 1 or 2 years in between A New Hope, Empire, and then Empire and Jedi. So yeah, I think 14, 15, a little less than 20, but that's where we're at. Not that any of this fucking matters, but there you go. Solved.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and you've had no crack in this case at all. Like, you haven't found Ezra, you haven't found enough information to even give you, I would assume, to give you a real clear idea of how to get to Ezra. And now she may have heard rumblings of, Mandalorian society starting to coalesce under Bo-Katan Kryze, who she's aware of. Like, she knows of
now
Bo-Katan.
I think about
She's met Bo-Katan.
At least from making Star Wars, he believes that some of Ahsoka is going to take place before we meet her in Mandalorian Season 2, during and after. So, Nick, now that we just, blew our brains up trying to figure out the timeline, there is a chance that Ahsoka, parts of it at least, are taking place before this Mandalorian potential reunification. There's a chance. Let's just say that. There's a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that Sabine is going to insert herself into the world of Mandalorian politics by any way, shape, or form, because I don't think that she's interested in that. And even after she finds Ezra, I don't think that would be what she would choose to do either. So I think that there is really this scene that we're talking about. It is a moment of reflection on her past and where her future may lie, because she was born a Mandalorian at one point, but she has chosen a path opposite of that. So, what does this helmet mean
Sabine
to her
would
now?
be in the Bloodline faction. She'd be like the Darksaber zealot type of Mandalorian. So, looking at Natasha in the role, how do you think? Did they cast the right person?
I think they did a good job. Yeah, I mean, I think that she has a very similar look to Sabine. Obviously, like we said, her hair has grown out significantly.
Now, did that make you want to light your Star Wars Rebels box set on fire, seeing Sabine's hair long? Because some people really were upset.
Well, I'm sure that they'll put out more figures for the people out there who are very, trust me, there'll be another
shit people
fucking Sabine
zero in on
figure.
sometimes. I'm like, what are you missing in your life? I mean,
the fact, like, the people with their like lengths of things, like Ahsoka's Lekku was too short, and Sabine's hair is too long. It's like, why do you give a fuck? Like, nobody looks at you after you've had a haircut 3 weeks ago and says your hair's longer. Nobody cares. Right. Like,
yeah. So I mean, in the end, she's probably cutting it anyways, because I'm pretty sure we've seen a shot of Natasha with the bob, like with the Sabine bob, which means she's strapping back up. So don't worry, people. Yeah. The other thing, they also showed a behind the closed doors thing, and yes, she does have the green lightsaber. So thank you. Yeah, you guys are right. I'm stupid. I can see the hole now. So those droids definitely come after Ahsoka's found whatever she was looking for on this world between world location. And these are the same style of droids that were protecting Morgan on Corvus. So clearly they're a part of her cabal. Are they tied to Thrawn? More than likely. We did learn that, yes, all that is legit. Morgan is a Thrawn acolyte, if you will, or at least has a reason to get him. And so do Baylan and Shin. And these droids are obviously a part of their forces. So, Nick, it looks like to me, instead of wielding Beskar spears, they have kind of like those pikes that the what the hell type of droids had in from the prequels. What were they called? Magna Guards. Magna Guards.
Yes, Magna Guard. The ones that were on Dooku's ship.
You would have to...
not Dooku's ship. Grievous.
You would have to imagine these things are capable of defending a lightsaber. I don't know. Just like the Magna Guards were.
Yeah, I would assume so.
So it's interesting. I mean, do you think that, again, I'm looking at the scene of Ahsoka being challenged by 3 droids. Do you feel this is early season type of content? Like we're learning a bit about what she's looking for? Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's kind of there's a pattern with Star Wars trailers that almost every show has kind of fallen into. Usually you see scenes from the first like third of the season, and then you kind of like everything kind of falls off after that.
You are right, because and it's kind of crazy what they did with the Mandalorian, because Mandalorian had trailer scenes in it all the way through episode 6. So really, episode 7 and 8 should be completely fresh. We should not have seen any of this shit unless you were at Celebration last week and got into that panel. So, but yeah, more than likely what we saw in this Ahsoka trailer will be from episodes 1 through 4, maybe 1 through 5. But I would have to guess that she's going to kick their ass. They do look cool though. These are I do like this style of droid, and I don't care that I never bought the action figure. I am so done with the Black Series. It is so great. Like, I got through all Celebration with not giving a flying fuck about a single exclusive or reveal from Hasbro. It was awesome. Hold on. I got like some shit coming up my throat.
And Matt's been catching a sickness now.
Yeah, no, there's something going on. All right, moving on with the trailer here. Hey now, the Phantom is back. I love that they just dropped the Phantom there, and it wasn't the Ghost right off the bat. I mean, the Phantom is someone that plays Swago. I mean, it's a ship you become very familiar with and you might love, especially if you have Admiral Radish right now as your ship captain. But the Phantom's always been cool, because remember, they used to have an original detachable ship that gets blowed the fuck up, but then they steal this one from the Empire, and it's kind of like an old Separatist style ship, but it is the Phantom. They are chasing something, Nick, and I wonder, it looks like it's like this big disc being hung from a transport, and you gotta wonder, like, would this be Hera maybe in the know with Ahsoka, kind of fucking with Morgan's designs to build this ship to go find Thrawn? Or do you think this is Hera as General of the New Republic taking on some shithead that's messing with the New Republic?
Yeah, I mean, it really, like, I mean, I gotta figure it has something to do with the Thrawn angle. Again, it depends on how early in the season.
Dude, I mean, if you look at it, it could be even a device that you may need if you would transporting a worlds between worlds per se. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something of import for travel. That's what it looks like some kind of engine, like maybe like, you know, either like a super advanced hyperspace engine, or like you said, some sort of tech that might be linked to the world between worlds in some way, shape, or form. But I do think that this is probably Thrawn related.
All right. And we also got our first shot. Well, I guess we got a background shot of the Lekus there, looking good, baby. I love you. There you go. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Harrison Dula. What do you think? Good look, good cast?
I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as an actress, so I was a big fan of the casting.
Keeping it in the McGregor family, right? I mean, it's just some nepotism going on here. I mean, he brought his daughter from another relationship into the Kenobi series. You know, she was kind of the crackhead on that Dayu world, and now his lady love playing Harrison Dula, so pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I think it's a good casting for sure.
Oh, here you go.
And this next shot.
Here you go. A lot of people saying she looks too young, and I'm going, she's a fucking alien. Okay, like Yoda can live to 900. Who's to say a Twi'lek can't live to 150 and have good looking skin when they're in their 50s or 60s?
Twi'lek. Yeah, a Twi'lek can live 180 years.
Yeah, there you go. So go fuck yourself, everybody. That's what I mean. I think a lot of people forget that this shit ain't real. Okay? Let me remind you all, this is science fiction. Okay? It's not real. You can't say, hey, she has arms, legs, and a head. She's like me. She should look old and crusty at this point in time. Get over it. Yeah. Get over it.
I mean, 180 years, there are Twi'leks known to live over 200 years, so she's still young.
Thank you. I'll have more of this type of commentary once we get to Balin and Shin for all you motherfuckers freaking out about colors. So just calm down. There's our boy Chopper. Nothing to say about him besides he is one of the best fucking astromechs on the planet, if not my favorite. I love how angry he is. I love that he hates most other droids. I love the way he talks and that he has arms that come out of his head. He's fantastic. And he's actually the first one of the Rebels team to make it to live action on screen. So this is not new for him.
Technically Rogue One.
It's new for everyone else. I mean, Syndulla only got a page call in Rogue One. We did not see her. All right. There you go. There he is, Mr. Ray Stevenson, and I fucking love the way they styled him for Balin's skull. I love the white beard, the hair, just the all black outfit, the black hood, the black shoulder pauldrons. Fucking kick ass. I think he looked great.
Yeah, no, I think he
looked great. He looks great. And now that it is confirmed that he is playing this shady character who definitely can use the Force. Ray being 6'3" or something like that. I mean, he is going to look fucking fantastic on screen,
look intimidating.
In action, and I love the way he sounds. Like this guy. I mean, he just sounds like a badass. So I'm all for it. All for it.
Big fan.
But yeah, as we were going through some of the verbiage going here, specifically from Balin, was this is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, and it just kind of trails off. So who do you think he's talking to in this still here? I don't think he's quite talking to Ahsoka yet. I wonder if he's talking to like Morgan or Shin, or maybe even if they've run into Thrawn at this point. Probably not Thrawn, but... To me, it's either Morgan or Ivana Sakno, Shin. Shin Hati.
Probably one
we
of
have
those
her name too. Hati. Shin Hati. I think so. I don't think it's Haiti. I think it's Hati, knowing Star Wars.
It's probably not. Yeah, it's probably Hati.
Yeah, so
something like that. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine that that's not a line that would necessarily be spoken to Ahsoka early on. Probably like during a scheming session with either Morgan or
for sure.
Shin.
For sure. And speaking of Shin, there she is. Two again.
She looks great.
Fucking looks awesome. I think this girl. I guess I had to go rewatch Pacific Rim to see her again. But just from the blips in the trailer, she looks fucking awesome. She looks like she can wield a blade, and she definitely looks like she's angry. But
you know what's cool too? Like very little. You're right. We did see very little, but her movement seemed very interesting.
Natural. It looked like she actually knows how to wield the blade.
Yeah.
But you'll notice here, Nick, she's got a little symbol on her belt. I couldn't quite tie it to anything. She's not in full black. Hers is more like a gray tunic. I just want to remind everyone, we don't know who these people are. I know sometimes you're like, oh shit, they're wearing dark and they have the Force. They're Sith. They're not. We don't know that. In fact, Dave Filoni himself came out this weekend and clarified a point I'll be talking about here about their lightsabers and how we shouldn't be quick to judge or decide who they are or what type of faction they are. Either way, Ivana as Shin Hati looking kick-ass. And really this whole scene, Nick, it looks like she makes her way onto a New Republic cruiser of some sort, gets to the bridge where we have this low-level officer. I mean, is that a captain, a 1 dot? Could be a captain. She's at least sitting in the captain's chair, and that's where we see our first look at the blades that Shin and Baylan will be using. And some people, including Stuntbite, first thing he says, like, yo, dude, are they doing orange lightsabers now? And he's like, that's kind of dumb. And I was like, well, listen, man, we don't know who the fuck these people are. So let's not be quick to freak out.
I've been like, this kind of shit has been in Star Wars: The Old Republic since the day this fucking game came out. Like, I whipped like double orange lightsabers for like a full year when I was playing that game. So like this thing just looks like something that I'm super
and it got crazy enough, Nick, that they actually asked Dave at Celebration and they're like, hey, you know, those lightsabers looked orange, and Dave was like, yes, someone picked up on that. I did that on purpose. Because if some of you motherfuckers, and I hate saying all of you, because I know most people listen to this show, you're not a douche. But if you are one of these douches, just watch the rest of the trailer. That Inquisitor-like figure that Ahsoka's fighting has a red lightsaber, and it is clearly red where these clearly are not. So that should signify something to you. These people probably aren't Sith, okay? That's okay. We can't have groups out there that aren't Sith or aren't Jedi. There's this whole unaligned Force user thing that has taken place in the Star Wars franchise that some of you need to get clued into. So it's,
I mean, the closest that I can make a comparison to for those of you who are like Old Republic, old EU fans, stuff like that, is like there were a whole like separate faction of unaligned Force users in the Old Republic days that were just called the Revanites. They weren't Sith, they weren't Jedi, they were followers of Revan, a particular person. They had lightsabers of all different colors. They could do they did whatever they wanted. Like, so to me, the closest, like, you know, faction that you could call these two is something similar to Revanites more than likely. It's like they have an ideal that they follow, or they have like a personage that they follow, and not necessarily a particular.
That person could be Thrawn, could be Morgan,
could be Thrawn.
Hear me out. Hear me out on a crazy theory here. And we don't have to dive into it, but just I want to get it out into the ether. Clearly, we've known since day one that the Ahsoka series is going to deal with the world between worlds. We know what the world between worlds can do with time travel and whatnot. Could we postulate, my friend, that Baylan and Shin are possibly coming from the past or the future to change things that they don't like, that they know happen? You know, what if they're coming from like the High Republic era?
Could, yeah. I mean, it definitely could be. And we know that in the High Republic area, there were Force users out there who were not necessarily Sith, like, you know, unaligned kind of nefarious Force users who weren't necessarily Sith. The only, I mean, I guess it really comes down to like how the world between worlds functions, because we have such a limited set of knowledge on how that actually works. But we also know that the world between worlds can basically like control who it reveals itself to, because that's why like Palpatine couldn't use it, because he never could access it. But people like Ezra could.
I mean, you're right. From our limited knowledge of the WBW, it's essentially like a kind of like in the Matrix, the key maker, how he can open doors and he gets kind of behind the code. Or if you ever played a video game and you break it and you get behind the code, that's what WBW is. And you have all these doors that can take you to different eras of a timeline. I don't know if I don't think Star Wars, at least in Rebels, approached the idea of multiverses through the world between worlds. I think it was just more pure time travel. So, like I said, I don't really know shit. But if you think about, these people can use the Force, and they do seem like a master and apprentice, and they've made it all the way up through the fall of the Empire and whatnot. That means they would have made it through Order 66. At least Balin, he's old enough to have been around. Who's to say that they're not coming from a different timeline where they just skipped all that shit? For sure. So I want to put it out there early. We got many more months before the season comes here, and they could very well just be disgruntled Force users, or Balin was and he took on Shin. But what if they are coming from either a different part of the timeline or a different realm? If the world between worlds can kind of tie into that shit.
I mean, like, this is like the world between worlds itself opens up so many possibilities in Star Wars. Like you now have the possibility of a Star Wars multiverse where there are multiple universes out there. These people could have crossed over from different universes. Like, what they can do with that particular tool that they created for Rebels is kind of an endless open sea.
Right. I mean, look what's happening with DC, what's going to happen with Flashpoint, and then what's happening now with the MCU because of multiverse. The shit can get fucking wacky.
It can get really weird. So I do hope that they have like a little bit more limited ability, or they keep the world between worlds limited to like, like time travel and stuff like that, and not like truly go in a multiversal type of fashion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really want to get into a multiverse for Star Wars, but time travel, it's already happened. So, okay. So I'm hoping it's limited to that. But since that can't happen, we all have to be open to the idea that Balin and Shin may have come from a different point in time to try and change something, just like Ezra did for Ahsoka. Okay. We know that can happen. Even though we could argue the Ahsoka save is kind of the whole chicken and egg debate, he still technically is why she got out. Okay. All right. So there we go. I like that. Good stuff there. Orange lightsabers are okay. I think these were probably my favorite shots from the trailer. And the ones I'm talking about, if you're not on the stream, are when we're literally on live action Lothal and you see Ahsoka's ship come over, right over Sabine's tower, used to be Ezra's tower. Just great looking cinematography here. Love the shots. Love that they kind of included a somewhat extended scene in a trailer. You usually don't get to see that. But we do make it to the, it seems, Nick, at least based on their conversation, Sabine responds to Ahsoka, been a while. Ahsoka says things have changed. It seems they've been apart for quite some time, at least when Ahsoka comes to Lothal on that ship to meet with her.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, especially for Ahsoka, where they parted, obviously they were both like, we're gonna do everything we can to find Ezra, but I mean, I have to imagine that with everything that was going on in the galaxy at that time, with the rise of the Empire and with everything else that was happening in terms of just like uprisings, rebellions, and stuff like that, that like maybe Ahsoka just couldn't find the time, like Ahsoka's like, I want to find him, but there's just too much shit for me to do. Like,
we probably have to look this up, but I'm 99% sure this is correct. But Dave Filoni has said, like, listen, the Rebels epilogue, its timing may not be what a lot of fans think. He's essentially saying, like, oh yeah, you thought it was just right after Jedi, but he's like, that may not be the case. The Rebels epilogue could have been maybe during this fucking timeline we're going to see in Ahsoka. So everyone's got to kind of keep that in the back of their head too, where what we're the Ahsoka series itself could span a couple years.
Yeah, decades.
Well, yeah, I mean, hell, if there's flashbacks I forgot. I mean, we keep forgetting that Hayden is involved in this thing too. So Yeah, you're correct. Flashbacks could come in, but I think even in the present Mandoverse timeline, Nick, we could see, some things happening 2 years prior, and then maybe things catching up to the Mando timeline when they actually do go out and look for Thrawn. And maybe that's when this is happening. Maybe that's why Sabine does have her hair growing out. She has been chilling because Ahsoka's been out trying to nail down these, as she says, I've been hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. So that maybe that's what Ahsoka's been doing during this Mandoverse timeline, going to Corvus. That's why she was there. She learned some stuff from Morgan. And now, as she hears more whispers, she's ready to go do the search in earnest again. But it's good just seeing these ladies together. All right, next scene here. This seems to be, Nick, some sort of New Republic capital ship flotilla. I'm assuming that's where this meeting with Mon Mothma and her various delegates are taking place. And we see a subsequent scene coming up here where it looks like Ahsoka docks with these ships, probably to go and ask them for help. Kind of like we talked about a week or two ago, how it sounded like the first part of Ahsoka is going to deal with the New Republic and its failings with the Remnant, and that shit's coming down the pipe that they're just not responding to. Ahsoka's going to try to get them to help, and they're probably going to say, sorry, we just can't dedicate that much. But another cool moment from... Yeah.
Or it could be a warning, too. It could just be her literally saying, like, hey, you guys aren't tracking this because y'all are too busy, building a government, but like something is coming and I just want to make you aware. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Carver in the chat here, good point. They could also be a new type of force wielder from whatever part of the universe. Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. But they probably got here through the world between worlds somehow. Who knows? We'll just have to see. But what I was going to say here, Nick, on this pulled out shot of Mothma in her, her cabinet, that's fucking Kaz's dad right there in green. Kaz Ziono from Star Wars Resistance. That's his father. So that was awesome. I'm glad Resistance is still a thing to some people. As much as many of you hated it, I really do still appreciate that animated series. And we always have to on the show. Let's just honor and appreciate Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma. You know what's funny, Nick? It seems like after they beat the Empire, Mothma's like, you know what? I don't want to look all kind of run down anymore. I'm going to let my hair grow out again. I'm going to wear, I'm going to put on some cloaks and capes again. I'm not just going to wear my white and my necklace, because she did. She's got her hair grown out again. So good for her.
Yeah, no, definitely. Love it.
I like this Carver Tate, whoever this person is. I would love it if Ahsoka went into the WBW and pulled an older future Grogu into the story. Yes, that'd be fucking great, man. I love Grogu, and I love that he's just kind of chilling this season. He's biding his time. All right, here's a big one here, and those in attendance got to see the front shot. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to Reddit Leaks. Justin SW Props image is still up there, but we got confirmation. Thrawn is here, and it is Lars. We just got to see the back of his head in the release trailer. But Nick, if you look what he's on, he's clearly on the bridge or in in the main room of this device that Morgan is building for him. Because we'll see in a few more stills here that Morgan is on that same bridge. So it seems this golden looking viewport could very well be the ship, the device that Morgan has been working on all these years to try to find Thrawn, which means if he's on it, they found the motherfucker. Okay?
Yeah.
Here's the shot I showed you of it. That's got to be Ahsoka's ship pulling up to the New Republic. So I think that's where she's going to make her pitch. But then we get a shot of Ahsoka in, I'm thinking it is like a Worlds Between Worlds portal. I also got some hints and feels of that Typhon Seeing Stone bubble that kind of popped up. But I'm talking about the moment where, she's ready to battle. She's talking to Balin and she drops the, heir to the Empire line, which I'm sure a lot of Zahn fans pop chubbies over. Good for you. I don't read. Who gives a shit? But I'll kind of show you what I mean here, Nick. Did you feel like her and Balin were in the World Between Worlds, kind of having this duel?
Yeah, it's an interesting.
I'll skip to the next shot where you can see it better. But they got like these camera devices around, and it does.
That's what I was going to say.
It looks like they're kind of on a very similar stone platform to what you saw on Tython, but then around it, the world between worlds kind of almost envelops the stone structure and pillars, right?
Yeah, it's almost like a rest stop within the world between worlds, where you can, like, you know, instead of just like popping from one place to another place in time, like this is a place where you could almost like stage whatever you were going to do.
Almost like it's the portal, like, to get into it. I don't know. It's like maybe you're not in the world, but this is how you get into it. But if they're in something, because you can see the lines and the circles and the stars, so this very well could be the live action version of the WBW. We gotta remember, we've only seen the all black and like rainbow trail or white trail, almost light bridges from Rebels. But like, I mean, they got these cameras around. It's weird. So I don't know. It's definitely WBW adjacent, if not a portal, if not WBW itself. But they're squaring off, and this is where you really get a good look at Balin's kit, and I fucking dig it, man. I mean, shit. I like it better than Maul. I mean, he's up there with Darth Vader in my opinion, in terms of his look. I like that just straight black with the pauldrons. It's very medieval knight-like. You know what I mean? Like it almost feels like he's in a suit of armor, and I fucking dig that.
Yeah, no, I think he looks great, and yeah, I mean, like him and Shen are such interesting characters that I'm really eager to learn more about. Because they do kind of almost feel out of place. Yes, in where they are.
I mean, they're so far from Sith or Jedi. That's clear. I mean, they don't look like either faction. They wield a different color lightsaber, but they clearly have the Force and use laser swords. So it's funny that they left a lighting rig in here. Oh, this thing there. Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe they don't. That's what I mean. I mean, you got like all these little cameras sitting around. Is that in world, or do they just forget to, you know, Starbucks coffee like in Game of Thrones? I doubt it. I think all that shit is there on purpose. It is. It's almost like this place has been excavated, just like the world between worlds and Rebels. I mean, they dug it up somewhere and they were kind of focusing on it. So same thing could be happening here between these two. But this looks like at least one of the duels between our protagonist and antagonist is going to take place here. I did skip 2 shots, but just to remind everyone, here is Morgan on the bridge of that, what we're thinking is the ship that she had to build to go and find Thrawn. So that confirms all that. And like I said earlier, it confirms now that he's on that fucking bridge that they probably get their mission accomplished. And then here's Balin with his thicker Claymore-style sword, which you can see a little bit, right, Nick? You can see the hilt is a little bit wider than you'd traditionally get on a lightsaber.
Yeah, it's a little bit wider. It's not quite the hilt style that you saw from Kylo that was like, you know, exuding the additional energy from the crossguard, but it definitely does have like a small crossguard that essentially stops. Like the thing with a lightsaber blade is now, and like we rarely see it happen, is like if you go blade to blade and you just slide your blade down, you could cut somebody's arm off easily.
Well, dude, have you seen this was fantastic. I think it was in the fall of 22, but it was a meme going around of like 2 fat black guys kind of showing how ridiculous lightsaber duels are, because just like you said, when they lock up, the black guy would just retract his and then light it again into the guy's stomach. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going to block me. He just takes it down and then fucking stabs the guy. So you're not wrong, dude. Like, you're not. Lightsaber dueling is kind of ridiculous if you think about it.
It is kind of weird. And I know that they've like started to incorporate a little bit more of that into it, like dropping lightsabers and catching and reigniting them and stuff like that. And like realizing that, you know, you have these people who have trained with this weapon for generations, and like all they're really doing is just smacking them against each other.
Light on light. That's it. It's just light on light.
Yes.
You know what, dude? I mean, the more I see Balin in his dress, the more I'm like, this dude screams High Republic. You know, because they aren't. I don't know shit about High Republic. Dr. Mad Studio, welcome. Carver, hey, I love when new fans find us and want to stick around. So I'm glad you tuned in at the right segment and I wasn't yelling at everybody. You never know. Sometimes new fans join in and I'm on one of my screeds and they're like, all right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But Nick, I mean, you just look at this guy. You're like, Knight, High Republic, Jedi Knights. I don't know. He just... You heard it here. You heard it here first, people, just in case.
Yeah, I mean, even with, like you called out with Shin and that symbol that's on her belt and in the earlier screenshots, like something that we've never seen before that we really can't link to anything. There's a lot of possibilities with the World Between World and where these characters come from, where they could
any
be
of you
from.
High Republicers out there. I don't know if we have any of our fandos, the diehards, because I think they're like us. They don't get down with words and shit. But if there are any High Republicers out there, don't they kind of dress more regally like a knight would? I know I've seen some character designs where they did feel more like medieval knights versus the brown robe wearing ones of the Republic era.
Yeah, the Republic was definitely more flourishy, had a lot of like gold flourish and their like lightsaber design and their cloak design, definitely a little bit more lavish than you would see in the Grand Republic days, especially.
Either way, he's got a great fucking look, and if we get an action figure or a hot toy, I'm buying one. That's for damn sure. All right, moving on from the bad guys here. Dr. Matt Studio, we hope you stay. We're glad you hopped into our stream. Welcome to the fun. Here we go. Miss Hair again, looking good, looking too young for some people. She's got her 5 dots, so we know she's a general. But, she gets a line here of, we have to prepare for the worst. So I'm assuming, Nick, what's going to happen, Ahsoka's going to show up in that New Republic flotilla. She's going to make her pitch and have great facts lined up. Mon Mothma's going to be like, you know what? We hear you. We feel you. We appreciate you. But take a fucking ticket. And that's where Hera is going to kind of address them after the fact and be like, listen, people, we have to prepare for the worst. Hera, to me, is probably starting to fall more in line with Princess Leia at this point in time than the New Republic leadership. You got to remember, who knows, at this point, Leia could have already been kicked out of the Senate for being considered a warmonger because she was like, listen, you dummies, we can't fully disarm. We can't do it. And Mon and her cronies are like, fuck you, we need peace, no more war. And that's why she leaves the Senate and starts the resistance. And it sounds like Hera is probably thinking more along the lines of Princess Leia than Mon Mothma in this scene.
Yeah.
Just more shots of the Ahsoka Baylan duel. I don't know. It looks like he may give her a run for her money, but I have a feeling she's probably going to kick the shit out of him. I mean, it is Ahsoka after all. I don't care if this dude comes from no space, left space, this space, right space. It's Ahsoka, okay? She was trained by the Chosen One. We got even more insights into that in Tales of the Jedi, which is getting a second season, where he essentially abused her with the clones until she could do it herself. So she's more than capable of kicking ass. There's a good shot of Shin in a spaceship wearing the Anakin Skywalker communicator like we saw him in his ETA-2. Hell, she may be even flying in ETA. It seems nice and cramped. She's definitely in some sort of snub fighter there. And clearly, I believe she is the one shooting up the back of Ahsoka's ship, which I'm pretty sure this is Ahsoka's ship, that kind of crescent-shaped sun deal. But, so Shin is, like most Force users, also capable as a pilot. How about this one, dude? Yeah. I mean, is this just a straight ripoff of the Vader hallway scene or what? But
that's what I was going to say. Like, it seems like Baylan gets his own hallway scene, which is, hey, I'm all for it. Those hallways are pretty cool.
But it really is. I mean, it is a direct homage, if not a direct lift of the Vader scene. And they didn't fuck around. Like in the trailer, they're like, yeah, we're going to show you a lot of this. I mean, he's in there. He's got the hood up, blocking bolts, force choking motherfuckers. So, I have a feeling I'm going to be a huge Baylan fanboy when everything's all said and done. As long as he, doesn't kill anybody I love. But he's just looking great. I would imagine. Do you think, Nick, this is him on those same capital ships we've seen, or is this the ship that he and Shin more than likely kind of attack together where we saw her early in the trailer where she makes it to the bridge? Or is that still those ships? I mean, did they just come and attack this flotilla after Ahsoka was there?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is probably a separate incursion, because it would be real ballsy to try to take on 3 New Republic vessels by yourself. And I guess your plan would be like, well, if we could fully take over one ship, then we may be able to take over.
In their heads, they're like,
do some damage.
These dickheads probably don't even have guns. They've demilitarized so much. So we know the Force. We can use lightsabers. We can take it on. But it is interesting. I wonder if they're tied together where we see her on the bridge, if that's just a continuation of Baylan kicking ass in the hallway. All right, here he is. Just in case your eyesight's not too great, but the little holo that Sabine is reminiscing over is 100% live action Ezra. Iman himself even came out with a cheeky tweet saying, "Hey, it was great standing in that day just to be a hologram," still not confirming that he's actually in the series, just kind of playing with everyone saying, yeah, I just filled in to be Ezra hologram. That was it. I'm good. I'm done. I'm not attached to Ahsoka. But clearly Sabine is feeling the loss of Ezra maybe more than anyone. And it makes sense, Nick, because I don't know, at least the way I looked at it, towards the end, I know Ezra probably wanted things to get maybe a little more hot and heavy, but if anything, they were kind of morphing into that really tight brother-sister Star Wars character bond. You know what I mean? Like they truly cared for each other more than just, hey, you're on the Ghost crew. There was a genuine, hell, I'll even say it, love between them. Maybe not the love yet, but they definitely came to appreciate each other, especially in those later seasons. And it makes sense that we see Sabine here now, all these years later, just lost and reflecting and thinking about Ezra. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a strong relationship. Not quite like like you said, not quite like an in-love relationship, but they did have like a special bond that probably has driven Sabine into like this mental state that she's in now when she's reminiscing and probably holds a little bit of animosity towards Ahsoka. That lightsaber on his belt, she has it right now, and that was shown. So yeah, I mean they're tight like that. Who knows if they're tight? Yeah. But they're definitely tight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, and coming to the last few slides here of the first Ahsoka teaser. All right, and this is where I don't want to use that slide, but here you can see, yes, they still know how to make red lightsabers. They could definitely crisp it up a little bit more, but did this character that she's dueling not feel like an Inquisitor to you? I mean, it's got the Inquisitor blade. It's got the Inquisitor look. I mean, how it looks damn near just like the eighth brother, but I thought he died in Star Wars Rebels on Malachor. Maybe he didn't, but what say you, Inquisitor or not? I mean, it definitely looks like an Inquisitor, at least in form and function. I don't know if Inquisitors are still, again, like this really depends on how fucking fucked up this timeline right, yeah, that's what I'm, like, I want to remind everyone that this could very well be where because if you look at this scene, Nick, it looks like they're at one of those scrap yards where they're, tearing down the Imperial war machine. So maybe there was some Inquisitors kicking around still at that point in time. And like there are onlookers in the background, so like this is happening like out in like full fucking view of people, and like I don't know how they got there. I don't know why they're there. This scene here where she's jumping out of the window, that's all the same deal. So like she goes to this processing yard for some reason and gets into a fight. Yeah, so it's very interesting to see that this just kind of broke out midday, almost seemingly like by surprise, and against, like you said, a character that is using 100% using an Inquisitor blade, because you can tell by the hilt. Yeah, I mean, it's unless they stole it off a dead Inquisitor body. I mean, that's as Inquisitor as it gets. I like this. I like Bat saying in the chat here that some people are pitching Barriss. That I wouldn't be opposed to that. Having a Barriss Ahsoka rematch is warranted. I mean, Barriss is the one that fucked Ahsoka in the first place and essentially led to her walking away from the Jedi Order.
I mean, there hasn't been a resolution to that, at least as far as I'm aware. There hasn't been a resolution to that storyline between Barriss and Ahsoka in any Star Wars media yet.
There has not. All right, and this was kind of a cool reveal here, but Huyang made his appearance, and he said something very interesting. Now, if you don't remember, Huyang he's the architect droid that has literally been around since damn near the dawn of the Jedi. Like from they were before they were Jedi, like the Jedi Yagala, something like that. Something we may be learning about in the movie if it actually makes it to theaters. But, I mean, this droid is obviously very important to the Jedi Order. And he says something, I think, very enlightening to, I'm guessing, Ahsoka, where, Ahsoka says the Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left. To which I think Huyang says, perhaps it's time to begin again. So what do you think he's saying there, Nick? It's time to rebuild an order, to go out and seek out Force users. That's at least how I process what he said. It's time to begin again. I mean,
it seems like every time an order falls, whether it be the Sith Order, the Jedi Order, there's some impetus for them to rebuild themselves. I think in this instance, it is kind of a world in chaos, without like a group of protectors to like try to keep things balanced. And especially if this droid has been like, its directive is to ensure the survival of the Jedi, then it would make sense that he would approach Ahsoka, the only known living Force user left in the galaxy.
Maybe I explained her. I don't think he's the one going out and trying to find the people. I think Ahsoka comes to him. I mean, they're on Lothal here. That's for sure. Maybe it's when Ahsoka comes to Sabine, they're all talking. I could see Ahsoka essentially saying, hey, I've run into Grogu. Luke's out there trying to do some shit. We still can't find Ezra. We need to. It's something like that where Huyang is kind of saying like, no, it is time to begin again. You should be really starting to put a focus on your search for Ezra and other Force users.
It's just, again, like this one is just like so hard. Like it's so hard to make any guesses on shit here because I have no idea at what point in time anything is happening. But I mean, like if it is in the Mandoverse, like if we're in the Mandoverse timeline, then maybe that's the conversation that sparks her to actually go seek out Luke Skywalker and meet Grogu. Like it's time, it's time to rebuild again. And then that's what really sparks her to like what we see in Book of Boba Fett is like, maybe it's that moment that brings them together. Because since we are like crossing, like this series seems like it's going to be crossing timelines with Book and with Mando and with other stuff that's going on in the timeline. It's very possible that like she has this conversation. He could simply
be saying maybe it's time to begin again to her. Like maybe it's time to start becoming a Jedi or following the Jedi way again, getting more of that focus versus just being an unaligned Force user. Who knows? But he's back, and he is being voiced by David Tennant again, who did him in the cartoons. So there you go. That is your Ahsoka trailer breakdown. Let's do it.
This is it's exciting. This is one that I think like deep Star Wars lore fans have been waiting for a while because there's a lot to unpack just in terms of like leftover storylines from Clone Wars, leftover storylines from Rebels, pushing forward the storylines into the future towards the sequel trilogy and where that's going to land. So I do think that there is a lot to be covered specifically in this show, and I wonder what their focus is going to be because it's going to be very hard to do that all in one.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we know it's not Ahsoka's charge to rebuild the Order anyway. So I don't think it's necessarily that. And that's why I was like, well, maybe he's just kind of, pushing her a little bit. Like, yeah, maybe you should get a little bit more in touch with your Jedi past. Or begin believing in it again, believing in the power of the Force for good, so on and so forth. So remember, she is pretty damaged thanks to Anakin.
Emotional damage.
Like, she's got some legit emotional damage. All right, let's move into some of the other celebration news here. As Nick said, I mean, honestly, if you've been reading the tea leaves and following the trades, there weren't really any big surprises for Ahsoka. I guess, Nick, you could argue the fact that they've rolled out 3 new movies. I guess that's a surprise, considering they haven't put to bed or followed up or finished the 3 previously announced movie projects. But we did get confirmation, I guess. And I'm like Nick, like, hey, I'll believe it when I get a trailer. Until then, I'm not putting too much weight into any of these announced projects. So, I mean,
we have had announcements for more projects than what have been projects that have been released.
Yes, he's not wrong.
We've almost had more canceled projects than we had than projects that have actually been released.
So here, let me just give you the rundown, and I want to get your take on some of these. So we're getting 3 movies. James Mangold going way back, the Dawn of the Jedi. It's like what they used to be, like the Jedi Gaga La Baga. So he's covering that 25,000 years prior to the Skywalker saga. So that is about as old Republic as it gets. Filoni is taking on a movie set during the Mandoverse that is at least promised to us, if it happens, will bring the conflict between the New Republic and the Imperial Remnant to a head. So kind of tying all our little Mandoverse shows together, something we have heard about in the past. And then we've heard this name a lot. We've talked about it in reference to being attached to a project set during the sequel era, and that is Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is definitely directing a movie set 15 years after TROS, and I think the big surprise was that it will feature Rey and her quest to rebuild the Jedi Order. So Daisy is back. Maybe that's why John Boyega over the past few weeks has kind of softened a bit on his character in Star Wars. He actually kind of was like, you know what, I'm kind of all right with how Finn ended up. Which
there's $5 million in this
which
me
means
if I just
which means I should probably shut up, because if Rey is rebuilding the Order and we actually return to my character being Force sensitive, I should be the second lead. So
I could do some cool shit. In order of how I like likelihood of these movies actually happening, the one with Rey is the most likely to happen, because it's the only one that is tied to anything like sequel related that is like, purely Disney. I feel like that's the most likely to happen in terms of an actual theatrical release. The Filoni movie is going to happen. To me, it's yet to be seen if that will be a theatrical release or not. I'm leaning towards it.
Nope.
Like, whether it's a theatrical release has everything to do with the viewership of the Mandoverse shows leading up to it. Because if they start to dwindle, like if interests in Mandoverse shows starts to
they better hurry up, because after episode 6, that shit might be going down.
Like if you have low interest in Ahsoka, if you have low interest in continuation of Mando, and then that will affect if that movie is a Disney Plus release or a theatrical release. That's kind of how I'm looking at that.
Then you're saying Mangold's is a complete pipe dream.
Mangold's is like every other Star Wars movie that's been released up to this point. I'm so glad that you said that this movie may exist. I have no faith that it'll actually happen.
Right. Like, I would think someone like you would, out of these 3 movies, that's probably the one you would actually like to see, right? The Old Republic one.
I mean, technically, this would be in the Dawn of the Jedi category of how they've now restructured things. So this is the second restructure of the entire galactic timeline that we've seen. I think it was a couple years ago we saw a completely. Oh yeah, no,
you're right. They added the Dawn of the Jedi. What he's talking about now, I got it up on screen. They added the Dawn of the Jedi, and then the new Jedi Order.
The new Jedi Order. And I think that now they have made the Old Republic actually canon.
Right, you're right. So fuck, Dawn of the Jedi isn't even Old Republic. It's its own goddamn thing. Yeah. You're right. Sorry. Yeah,
Dawn of the Jedi and Old Republic are
separate
two distinctly
entities.
different ones. Yep. And I think, I mean, this is, again, like this would be a huge leap for me to say this, but the symbol that they are using for the Old Republic is the actual symbol of the online MMO game. Okay. So if they do choose to...
So that's like Malgus's timeline, right?
Malgus, Revan Reborn, there is a ton of story within the Old Republic MMO that they may be actually going out on a limb and like saying like this is all canon, which would be fucking incredible.
Sweet.
Because that game is seemingly getting another lease on life. Like they're actively updating it.
I thought they were going to kill it, but they seem that, because weren't they like, oh, this is the last DLC, the last update. Now you're telling me that they might
not
push some more. All right, good for them.
Yeah, not anymore, because they're doing I think they're doing like a full system overhaul for that game to like bring it into like the new
shit. I need to just start playing it on the Steam Deck, because I feel like that's a great game to have on the Steam Deck. You know, check in every once in a while.
You can play a lot of the story for free. You know, like if you just like, and you don't have to do all of the MMO bits of it. You can literally just go through and play this.
I'm trying to be smart here, Nick. I did finish Hogwarts Legacy main story, so I got that out of the way. My plate is clear for Jedi Survivor, so I don't know if I should quite start SWTOR yet, because I don't want to feel I have something.
I will say that will give you a lot of hours to play, because it depends on how you choose to play it, because every class on both the dark side and the light side has a different individual level 1 to 50 stories that you play through. I've played through all of them. It's a lot of content. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't have too much else to say about this. Like, I'll believe it when I see it.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Give me a trailer, then I'll believe it's going to happen. I guess in terms of what do I think would happen, I do think the Filoni one is a sure shot. Both theater and eventually Disney Plus. I think the most unlikely to happen is the Mangold, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, because the Mangold one is literally going to be about the founding, the discovery of the Force on Tython. That's what that movie will be.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. They were like the people. They were called like JEDII apostrophe blah 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 blah.
No, this if they go back to the original story that was told, the founding of the Force, the dawn of the Jedi, you would be following a character called Ajunta Paul, who was the first Jedi ever.
Okay, see, this is Nick's bread and butter. I have no fucking clue what he's talking about.
And that character would also become one of the first Sithari. That was a title given to them by the Sith race of people that we've never actually seen in a Star Wars piece of content outside of a video game before. Like Ajunta Paul and his band of people like found the Force on Tython, were imbued with. This was before lightsabers were invented. This is when
Jesus Christ. I want this movie to happen now. Like this scratches my itch of learning lore. Like I love lore, especially the lore that starts everything. That's why I'm so excited about the prequels. I'm finally going to get to see how he becomes Darth Vader, and we know what happened there. Okay, all right, I'm down. All right, Mangold, let's put some vibes out there. Come on. We need it. Dawn of the Jedi. We need it. Blah, blah,
I would
blah,
love
blah,
it
blah.
if it happened, but I doubt that it will because of how Star Wars movies have been a complete disaster over the last, 4 years.
Yeah, so. He's not wrong. All right, well, let's move off the movies. I don't want to get Nick any more angry than he is. So we're just quick updates here. Nothing really worth spinning our tires on. We got a new Acolyte poster. That's nice. We got a new logo here. The cast came out. Nick, I think the only thing I want to hear your commentary on is if you saw it, but I found the fact that Amandla decided to cosplay to this as the actual star of a Star Wars series to be spectacular. I fucking love it.
See it.
Dude, she wore the straight up Padme Attack of the Clones white get up. Day one for her panel. It wasn't to fuck around. It wasn't to be on the show floor in disguise. She went as a real fan in cosplay, and that makes me fucking happy.
Hey, that's awesome.
I think the other big thing from the acolyte that we got, Eunice is 100% playing the Jedi Wookiee. I forgot his name, but good for Eunice. They showed a closed door trailer. It was pretty cool. I'm all about it. If you want to go read the description, go to Bespin Bulletin. Fuck it. Skeleton Crew, new news here. Ravi Cabot Conyers, Kiriana Crater, and Robert Timothy Smith officially introduced alongside Jude Law. There was also a closed door thing there. Everything we had from it has been wiped from the internet, so go look for it. But we got a trailer for Skeleton Crew, and again, it looked good. It's definitely taking place in that school on Navarro. I mean, I think that was pretty damn clear from the trailer. Andor Season 2 also got a little look. I got to see it before it got wiped, and looks and feels like Andor. I think the biggest takeaway is Serial seems to be at least in leagues with the Empire at this point in time. And yeah, that's it from that. All right. Kathleen Kennedy gave us some insights into the movies that Nick is saying are never going to happen, and I kind of agree. And here's why. Nick, you'll love this. So the Rey movie, they don't even have the script yet. The script, she said at Celebration, this isn't an old interview, this is new. She said the script is about six to 8 weeks out still.
You want to know why? Because the guy who was writing the script just fucking left.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Damon Lindelof.
You're right, because she does
literally just said I'm out.
She does confirm that it is now being written by Stephen Knight, which was the rumor we heard when Damon walked away. And here's a quote. So, I mean, this Rey movie is nothing new. They've been kicking the tires on this for a minute. We've been working on that film for a few years, and all that feeds to our overall storytelling. So we've just got to a point now where we've got a wonderful writer in Stephen Knight. After we fucking killed Damon, he's come on board, and we're going to see a script probably in the next month and a half that we've been working on for quite a while. But here she kind of gives you some insights into what this movie could be about. It's such an evolution of conversations that we all the time, and we knew coming off The Rise of Skywalker that we needed to take that further. We just didn't know how far out. We didn't know exactly what the story might be. But now we have a much better idea. And this is where she reveals to IGN that essentially 15 years beyond Tross. So we're post-war, post-First Order, and the Jedi are in disarray. There's a lot of discussion around who are the Jedi? What are they doing? What's the state of the galaxy? So Rey is attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order based on the books, based on what she promised Luke. So that's where we're going. I don't know if we'll spend a lot of time in flashbacks or on Force Ghosts or things like that, but certainly the spirit of what he represents to her is going to be significant. So she's pretty much saying Mark Hamill will probably be involved if he wants to, even though he's talked a lot of shit about Rey in the sequels. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, here's my lowdown or my thoughts on this is, it's a needed continuation because in my opinion, the sequels were like a transitional series. Like you had no star. There was no star of those movies because you had so many people from past movies. You had so many people that will be in future movies. You could say that Rey was the star, but you could argue that
Kylo.
It was more of an ensemble cast. You could argue that Kylo was the star. There's just too much that was happening and too much that was going on in those movies to really truly have like a cohesive way forward from there. 15 years seems like it's a good amount of time for Rey to have essentially done what Luke did in that interim period between episodes 6 and 7. You start to seek out Jedi or Force users in the galaxy. You start to teach them and you see what it evolves from there. What will be interesting is to see what style of Jedi Order she is trying to build, because there were distinctly two different styles of Jedi Order that were trying to.
This is the best part. She's not even classified as a Jedi. Rey is not classified as a Jedi.
Yeah, I will tell you this right now. Just forget about anything that they said about Rey being a Jedi in the sequel trilogy, because that doesn't apply anymore. She will be whatever they say she is in this new
she'll be a thing.
Or this new series. It doesn't Rey was not anything in the sequels. She was like a nascent Force user who was just trying to learn her abilities. So like in the sequel trilogy, she was nothing because
I wish she stayed in
she
nothing
had no
and
official
didn't
teacher.
become a Palpatine Skywalker. But hey, here we are.
Yeah, I mean that's it. So like it, if this new movie is literally about her trying to rebuild the Jedi Order, which it sounds like it will be, then what I'm interested in is,
does she change
anything? Are you going to try to?
Yeah. Does she learn?
Like, are you going to try to rebuild it in the form that it was when Luke did it, or are you going to update?
I think she's learned, and really, I mean, the it's not like Yoda ever read the books either, so. I think she'll learn, and I think she'll allow some relationships. You would hope, Jedi banging in the temple, that'll be okay and not frowned upon. But yeah, I mean, the movie's probably not going to get made, so who cares?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it actually happens.
So some other news from Kathleen. She revealed that moving forward, if we actually get Star Wars movies, they now will all have a crawl, regardless if they are Skywalker adjacent or not. So that's a new thing. I don't know if that's like the C-suite at Disney going, you know what? The reason fucking Solo didn't kill it in Rogue One, no crawl, fixed, done. Let's start making Star Wars stories again. It was the crawl. It had nothing to do with stupid choices. And this is just for Nick, because I don't want to spend much more time on this, but I just want to see him get angry. But she did touch on all the previously announced Star Wars projects, and guess what, buddy? They're all still going. None of them are canceled. None of them are shelved. They're all still a thing. Ryan and her talk all the time, but because he's so fucking busy, he just can't get to work. Taika is still working on his. He's writing it by himself. He doesn't want to bring anyone else in, and she doesn't blame him. And guess what? Rogue Squadron isn't officially dead either. It's definitely something they're still talking about, whether it's a movie or if it gets turned into a series. And then finally, Nick, she let everyone know that currently they're not fucking with Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. It's not even in active development. So there you go. I know you're always concerned about those announced projects that seem to never happen, but guess what? They're still there. They're still in the Disney Lucasfilm ether.
I will tell you, here's one thing that you should keep an eye on, or just think about in the back of your head. Think about every movie that they have announced. Roughly in your head, estimate $200 million is what it would cost them to make.
Easy, yeah.
So, yeah, like $200 million minimum.
Yeah, they're like at $1 billion currently, essentially.
Yeah, like right now, of the three, so they just announced 3. Mm-hmm. So that's $600 million roughly, if not $750
Ryan Johnson's
million.
trilogy.
Ryan Johnson's trilogy is another $750 million. Taika's is $250 million. So we're upwards of $1 billion, 1.5, almost $2 billion of money that is in development right now. I also want you to realize that's the reason that a lot of these movies aren't in active development, aren't being made, or are being pushed away, because it takes a fucking shitload of money to make a movie. And you can usually only do 1 or 2 at a time.
And the Disney stock price hasn't been faring. Oh my goodness, it's getting that point in the show. Haven't fared so well over the past few years. So who knows? And
I mean, right now, it's okay. It's around $100 a share is what Disney's at right now.
I know we're being a bit overly negative, and we typically are one of the more, and this is so odd to say, especially coming from me, one of the more positive Star Wars podcasts out there, with an explicit lyric tint to it. But the negativity around the Lucasfilm movieverse is completely justified. All right, they've pulled the rug out from under us way too many times at this point in time. So all of our all the negativity we're spewing right now, and just really having no belief in the movieverse, it's justified. All right, so don't give us any shit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that all of the announced projects would be incredible if they actually
I would love them all to happen. I would have loved the Ryan movie, the fucking this movie, that movie, the Taika, but where are they? Where are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like it is very interesting, and I hope that they get made, and I really do hope that they get made and are successful. But I also think that the fan base at this point is so just negatively poisoned that I fear that expectation of any movie that gets released would be too high.
You're right.
I told Matt before we went live, I was like, I don't think a Star Wars movie will ever make $1 billion again. I don't think it'll happen because I think that there's too many people in the fan, like the fan base itself is so overprivileged and like they just won't show up
and they're spiteful, and it's been proven they're spiteful with TLJ and then what happened to Solo. I mean, Solo got borked because of Bob Iger's bad decisions and then the fandom being dickheads. Let's be real. I mean, they purposely. So you are right. I mean, Disney brass should take a hard look within themselves and be like, you know what? Star Wars movies no longer equal $1 billion, and we have to adjust our expectations. And maybe you spend less on marketing, maybe you dumb down the production, but I don't think you are off the mark.
Barely crossed $1 billion. I think Tross was like 1.06 billion. Like it barely got to $1 billion. So and that's, you just have to factor that in now. It's like there's a huge section of the fandom that's either gone or aren't really interested in Star Wars movies anymore. So
fuck those people.
That is something that they're also thinking about is like how, like, what do you want your first re-entry into theaters to be? Like you want your first movie back into theaters to have the best chance to like reinvigorate that fan base.
That's why, dude.
Which one of these movies is it?
I think it's the Filoni one because it's the most peaceful. It's at least an era that most fans can somewhat agree that there isn't a complete tire fire at some point within it.
See, I would disagree, and I think that the one that has the most opportunity to really reinvigorate the fan base is the one that is least likely to happen, which is the Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah, because the Rey movie, there's already people lining up to burn it down because it's Rey and sequels. So I mean that's already going to have a hate force behind it.
And people are already starting to line up right now to hate the Filoni movie. Because people are starting to get tired of the Mandoverse.
No, that's what I was saying earlier. So, Filoni's a joke now to some of these people when he was Jesus Christ last year.
Yeah, I mean, the one that is most likely to get people into theaters to be like, oh, wow, this is exciting, is the one that is completely disjointed from everything, that has nothing to do with anything in Star Wars that you know about.
I love it.
And that's but that's also the one that is the least likely to get made.
Yay, so we'll see. Star Wars. All right, we got one more little ditty before the fan segment. We might actually be able to get in. We're making great time for all the shit we had to talk about. If Nick leaves, that's all right. But and this one was, I would say, a bit shocking to me. The Bad Batch announcement. I mean, I knew we were going to get a third season. Those of you that were wondering if we're going to get a third season, you're a little drunk. But I was shocked, Nick, to find that they're killing it after season 3 because I feel like that timeline has at least 9 more years of content that has not been covered. I mean, what is it? Kenobi is it Kenobi or Solo would be the closest, and they're still 8 to 10 years past the Fall of the Republic. So the fact that Bad Batch is getting killed after a third season, it could be good because you're going to get a nice, tight little story told over 3 seasons that's going to have a true end. But it seems odd, or maybe this is a sign that kind of like how Rebels is about to have its live action transition. Maybe they have something planned for the earlier timeline, the Bad Batch timeline, to bring them over, but I doubt it. It sounds like this is about it for that era of the Empire.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we never get viewership statistics on shows like this. I think that this may be a viewership thing because Bad Batch was never as popular as Clone Wars. It never will be. And I don't even think that it was as popular as Rebels. I mean, obviously you have completely different methods of distribution for those two shows, with Clone Wars and Rebels being on standard cable television and Bad Batch being only streaming. But I would imagine that this is viewership driven. And I also imagine that they probably want to take another look at Star Wars animation in general, because they've had the same style and methodology of Star Wars animation for a long time now, for well over a decade. And I think that they may be revisiting how that is being looked at. I also think that it's a lot of it is probably due to Filoni's schedule being a little bit overcooked at this point, because Filoni was the animation guy. Like he was the one who shepherded both Clone Wars to its finish, Rebels all the way through its run, and then was also like, he launched Bad Batch prior to when he became the full creative director.
He's never been the guy of Bad Batch. That's always been Jennifer and Brad. But he is like the king of Star Wars animation. So you are correct. I don't know. It's like, I mean, they did show a trailer there, so they've been working on this season. They knew it was going to be a thing. Of course, they could pivot if they wanted to end it, or maybe add episodes if they wanted to continue. I don't know. It seems like 3 seasons is a premature end for the Bad Batch.
I mean, I don't know. It all just depends on how they want to continue the storytelling within that era of Star Wars, or if they're just like, man, maybe we should just leave this fucking timeline alone. We've beaten it to death.
No way. Like, there's so much left before. I mean, you gotta remember, this is 10 years before Andor. I mean, this is the Empire becoming the thing. We don't even have the goddamn stormtroopers yet. We have like the old model TKs. It just seemed odd. I mean, I was a bit shocked, but hey, the way Star Wars fans are these days, if you would read message boards about Bad Batch Season 2 early in the season, they wanted to burn it down. Towards the end of the season, they were saying it was better than The Mandalorian now. So you never fucking know. You really don't. This could have been planned from day one, and maybe, like I said, they have live action shows. You would think a character like Omega would have more life than 3 seasons. She's fucking Boba Fett's sister, for Christ's sake.
I mean, you would imagine, but like, I don't know. It all comes down to eyes on the screen. And like, that's what I think that this one came down to. Like, I really do think that if this was a popular show, they would have left it running. But I just don't think it's popular.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer, at least what I could see before it got wiped, it seems like there's going to be a big thread on Ahsoka and Crosshair now that they're locked up at Tantus. And the best part is, he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm not them. Because she's like, Crosshair, come on. You go, let's go. We got to do this. We got to do that. And he's just like, shut the fuck up. I am not the guys you've been hanging out with. I'm not my brothers. And then there was a good shot of Palpatine touring the facility with Hemlock. So clearly you're going to get even deeper into Palpatine's cloning stuff. But Bad Batch Season 3, the final season, will be out in 2024. So you got that. And then this is just PSA. But my God, man, I'm sure you haven't seen it yet, but you got to check it out. Once we hang up, the trailer for Star Wars Vision Season 2 is fucking
I watched
bad
it. That looks incredible.
I mean, dude.
Incredible. Yeah, I watched
Visions.
I watched,
fucking kills it.
It's so funny. It's so funny to think that we just had a whole celebration. We only got 2 fucking trailers out of it. That's it.
Everything else was closed door, private, and scrubbed from the internet. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, like two public trailers with Visions and Ahsoka, and that was it. That looked
great.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that's coming May 4, the whole season, in addition to Young Jedi Adventures, which I think looks great, and I'll see how my kid takes it. I wish I would have had that when she was 3 or 4, but it's looking pretty fun, especially that little Jedi Nub. All right. Well, dude, do you want to get through the fan segment, or you want to dip out? We got 7:34. All right, we're doing good. We did a lot better than I thought.
Knock through this fan segment.
All right, so we do it every show, the fan segment. There's 2 ways to get involved. Question of the week is the first way, and then our top 5, which we'll be coming up with right now. But it is time for question of the week responses. So let's go ahead and get our Slack screen up here. All right. This week's question always gets posted to Instagram. You can reply to our stories or in the profile. But this week, and my goodness, for us, Nick, we actually benefit when people hate Star Wars, because for the first time in a long time, the question of the week actually got some legs. I mean, we had multiple comments from people that definitely don't listen to the show. But the question this week was, what was your favorite or least favorite moment from The Mandalorian, Jack Black, and Lizzo edition? And there's definitely some positive ones. There's definitely some negative ones. So here we go.
All right. First up is @press_pause_photography_. This is a two-parter here. Two-parter. Their second part is from F-Stop Rebel. So first off, for Press Pause, he says, I actually love the wackiness of this episode straight from the mind of Lucas himself. The chase was so fun, and I lost it at the droid morgue. It felt like an episode of Criminal Minds. However, as much as I enjoyed it, I'm not so sure about how it ended. The Darksaber drama ended in a very anticlimactic way, in my opinion. They made the saber basically have the same rules as the Elder Wand from Harry Potter. That was actually something that I was thinking about as well. When it was supposed to be the story and challenging the one with the saber, just felt like Bo got it on a technicality just to move that plot point forward.
That's exactly what happened,
gripe.
Connor. You good. You nailed it.
You're definitely right. And like we said, go back and listen to our breakdown of the episode where that like fight between the monster thing and Bo actually happened, because we 100% said like this is how like she won this thing technically. But it also goes to show like on that point, it shows the absurdity of that whole thing to fucking start with. Like that is by the letter of Mandalorian fucking law, she won it.
Yeah,
like that, but and it is true, and that's
they
actually
agreed to
what
it.
They
even coming from Bunker Boy, they're like, yeah, you know what, Dope's he's got a point. So yay,
I mean,
you
like,
get the sword.
So even though like you are right, Connor, it is anticlimactic and it is kind of like plot point furthering, but like by the letter of their law, she won it in single combat from somebody who beat the other person in single combat. Like that's just how it goes. And then F-Stop Rebel replies to Press Pause and says, I agree with this statement strongly. I've been a Star Wars fan for decades. I love the lunacy and wackiness. It put me in a great mood and felt very George.
Bingo.
There is space for all types of storytelling in this fandom. Sometimes I need to feel heavy and sometimes I need to have fun. I'm looking forward to more Andor, but I'm also looking forward to young Jedi
I like
adventures.
this person.
Darksaber was a pretty quick turnover, but hey, we will see where it goes. I've had a blast with this season, and it feels like the shows of the 90s. We have become so accustomed to very serious shows that almost perform as a giant movie.
Fuck.
I like the episode-by-episode format.
Get this F-Stop Rebel. They need to be in the SWTS Army. Let's go. Recruit this motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I like smart people, and this person's smart.
You know,
nice. Thank you, F-Stop Rebel.
Like, beautiful stuff. Next up is Clusterflux, which I believe is Clusterflux is the universe created by our good friend.
It's the guy, Lights, Camera, Tentacles.
Lights, Camera, Tentacles.
That's right.
Yes. All right. So he says,
hey,
I love it because
Klondike's in the live stream
picture.
again. Welcome.
Clusterflux says, love seeing some Quarren representation beyond them being the usual random henchman number 3. And it was cool seeing the Quarren ship. Captain's chair with that water tank and all of that was just brilliant.
Yes.
This is what I need more of in Star Wars. Love the droid stuff, the droid bar, and them delving into Separatist Dooku.
I'm telling you, man, it's us older fans that are digging this stuff, and it's the prequel fans that hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I also like how Clusterflux's profile picture is a Quarren.
No, he's legitimately a big fan of Quarrens. Like he's not fucking around. Like this was a big deal for him to see his favorite alien type kind of get their time in the sun. Yeah,
for sure. Scion XTC, long time fan of the Star Wars Time Show, says a fun episode with hits and misses. Hits. You had me at battle droids, misses.
Yeah, there we go.
Your kind here. So he wanted the line. He wanted the line there. Christopher Lloyd had a good role. It was random to see Jack Black and Lizzo, but she's living the dream of every fan by being a part of Star Wars. It was also great to see the current IWGP Women's Champion Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, or FKA, formerly known as Sasha Banks, come back. Hopefully we'll see her kick some ass.
Oh, she actually went to her real name in wrestling? I did not know that.
So so she is no longer Sasha Banks because she's no longer affiliated with WWE. I don't know. I kind of tracked that for a second and then I got lost. So, but yeah, she has a new wrestling.
Look at Connor's like, hey, now I'm a prequel fanboy and love it. Hey, you know, hey, I like pushing buttons every once in a while. You guys can hate or love whatever the fuck you want. Just don't do it on my feed.
Plastic Blurred says, no complaints my way. Star Wars has always been a little wacky.
True.
Good to see a separatist. Good to see a place not under threat. Great to see how they handled the Darksaber pass off.
Look at that.
I knew when Din dropped it while captured, and they zoomed in on it, that they would come back to it. I didn't think Bo was going to give it back to him. I never thought she didn't actually have to. And I never even thought she didn't actually have to.
I don't even know what that means, but yes, I agree.
I guess he was saying, like, when he saw her pick it up, he assumed that she would keep it.
No, thank you. Yeah, I get kind of stupid as the later the show goes on. So yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, I know. We're crawling towards hour 3 here. Darth Bricks, final one here, says, Jack Black and Lizzo do not belong in Star Wars. Sorry, most well-known actors have no place in Star Wars. It's always a look at me in this role moment, and never a let me take you into a whole new world and forget who I was. It's gross and dumb. It should stop. I mean, I guess that's that really depends on, like, how you look at the characters, because, like, I mean, personally, I don't listen to Lizzo's music, and if people didn't tell me that was Lizzo, I would not have known it was her.
Her music's actually pretty fucking good. I'll tell you that.
I mean, like, I know the name Lizzo, and I know that, like, Taylor occasionally listens to a Lizzo song every now and then. I know one of my friends is a big fan, but, like, I legitimately didn't know what Lizzo looked like until people were like, that's Lizzo in this role. And I was like, okay, cool. It didn't pull me out of anything because I had no previous knowledge of Lizzo outside of just knowing her name. But if that's how, I mean, like, that is definitely an opinion that's floating around out in the fandom, and you know, it is what it is. You know, famous people
just like it's gross all the time. It's gross and dumb, and it's just.
Yeah, I mean, well-known actors have no place in Star Wars. I mean, like, I don't know. That's such a weird thing to dig into. Oscar Isaac literally was I am pretty sure he had an Oscar nomination under his belt before he even played in Star Wars.
I mean, Ray Stevenson's been in a few fucking projects here or there. So is Rosario. I mean, I don't know. Whatever, dude.
Rosario Dawson was a very famous
actress. She was fan cast. I mean, literally fan cast. Yeah, she fan casted herself.
Mary Elizabeth
hey man, Darth Bricks, he's doesn't like cameos. Fuck him.
I guess.
Hey, Darth Bricks, if you're casting for Star Wars, sign me up, because no one will know who the fuck I am.
Yeah, nobody will know who we are.
Hire me.
Toss us in there.
Hire me.
Toss us in there. So that's the question of the week.
I'm telling you, man, if I know we weren't gonna have a long show and be up against the clock, I would have posted I would have read every fucking comment today, because there was a ton of them, and they were. I think, a lot of these type, and then the other mix where it's like, hey, whatever. It was zany, crazy. I'm good to go.
And also, like, I love Jack Black. I like Jack Black.
Yeah,
everything
he's my hero. Like I said,
School of Rock to Tenacious D, Pick a Destiny. I mean, like, I fucking love that guy. So I'm never gonna.
Anytime a short, fat man can reach his level of fame and popularity, I'm all about it. All about it.
Yes.
All right.
No complaints from me.
Good stuff there. I mean, I wish we always got that type of response for a question of the week, because it's nice to hear from other members of the community. Not that we don't love all of you diehards, the Bats, the Tones, the Press Pauses, the Scions, but we want to build this bitch, right? And to build it, we need to loop in some new friends. So thank you. But now it's time for the final part of the fan segment, and that is our iconic and I believe heavily copied and stolen top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. The way this works, on Instagram, use @tag Star Wars Time Show, # Star Wars Time Show. In any and all Star Wars posts, I'll go through them and feature them throughout the week on our page, and then Nick picks his favorite 5 to discuss on the show, which we're going to do right now.
Right now. First up in the top 5 is from our good buddy, Sir Dork. He is a member of the Star Wars D&D crew, for those of you out there
we
are already
we probably
to know
should get
our
asses moving on that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we can probably look to start scheduling
something. End of April, early May, I think, is what we should look for.
Yeah, end of April, early May will probably be a good area for that to happen. That is also potentially when I will be moving into a house.
That's when Nick's at his best, when he's highly stressed out.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But Sir Dork gave us a fantastic little Easter shot here.
Perfect.
Mando inspired. So we see Din Djarin and his foundling charge Grogu surrounded by large Easter eggs that are on the planet Easter in the outer rim of the Star Wars galaxy, and he is carrying around little Grogu in an Easter basket. Just fantastic stuff that is seasonally appropriate from our good friend Jared, aka at Sir.Dork on the Instagram.
Yeah, no, this is, I think this is a newer shot, because Jared, if you know his story, he got his account jacked. He's had to rebuild, so he's been releasing some classics, but I think this was a new one, and it just kicked ass. I loved it, dude. Great work, Jared. You the man. All right, who's next? Oh, check this out.
In the Star Wars Time Show Top 5. It is at Jim's, J-I-M-Z _ Toy Box.
Jar Jar.
And we got him, Darth Jar Jar, the one that everybody's been waiting for, the one that all their mythosaur eggs, says Jared about his shot. He said those are all mythosaur eggs.
Of course,
so
he always does stuff in universe.
They're on the surface of Mandalore is where they are. But this Darth Jar Jar shot from Jim's Toy Box is fantastic. I love the unstable striations of the lightsaber.
Perfect for Jar Jar.
I love the
perfect.
Yeah, I mean the bokeh coming up from him dragging the sabers along what is likely a metal floor of some sort of space vessel. The cloak fully covering his eyes. I mean, it's just a really cool representation of a Sith Lord Jar Jar here for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's just he just slapped on Palpatine's cloak and it works. It was the lightsabers for me too.
Yeah.
They seemed, having a Chaos blade just seems to fit Mr. Banks.
Oh yeah, 100%. An agent of chaos.
At Jim's with a Z _ Toy Box on Instagram. There's our lady Mando there.
I would say this one here, this is from Sandra Bell blog, sandrabell.blog, I should say, on Instagram. Really blew up, almost 1,000 likes on our share here from Star Wars Time Show. So make sure all of you who like this shot on our account also go over and follow Sandra on her account. But like you said, it is a shot of the newly reintroduced Sabine Wren. As a giant explosion goes off behind her, stormtroopers are flying in the background. Yep. You see one guy blasted off of his feet, one guy in the process of falling, and a helmet strewn about at her feet as she is holding the detonator for this incredible explosion. Even Sir Dork would be proud of, I assume.
No, he just said such a great shot. Sandra does great work, so you assumed correctly. You did not make an ass out of you and me. Yeah, I mean, Sandra's got this style. It's always very vibrant and always very practical. Everything's always nice and bright, good colors, lots of practical stuff mixed in there, like aquarium tank type of trees and flowers and bushes. So yeah, I'm glad she started showing up on our feed again, because I haven't seen her for shit. It seems like 6 months to a year. So good looking stuff from sandrabell.blog.
Definitely.
Unlimited power.
I love that. It's a scene recreation in Lego form from episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It is the hand chopped off unlimited power, you go out the window scene. But it also looks like this could have been taken right from a Lego Star Wars game. I mean, this is so well executed by @BrickPanda82 on Instagram. You see the full lightning coming from Palpatine's hands. You see Mace's hand chopped off, him in agony sitting there, and then you see the back of the soon-to-be-donned Darth Vader as he stands there and watches his former Jedi Grand Master is electrocuted and summarily thrown out of the window.
I like that he even
chamber.
Like reanimated Mace's face to make him screaming, and he's got the glowing little brick hand where his hand got cut off.
Yeah, man.
It is fantastic. It really, I mean, Brick Panda to me, and there's a lot of great Lego Star Wars artists out there like Tong Wars and and macro brick, but Brick Panda, I think, is the supreme. I'm sorry. I got to put it out there. It's just he's different level, notch, man. I mean, it does, like you said, it always seems like a cell from a Lego video game or a Lego Star Wars special, 100%.
Yeah. So incredible work at Brick Panda 82. And the final shot from this week's top 5 is from at Revens_toypicks. And I picked this just because it looks like it's taken right out of the show.
This is coming. This is so like a still from episode 7 or 8 of season 3.
Yeah, man. I mean, like the only thing that it would make not look like that is the fact that Din's holding the Darksaber, but like it looks so grounded. It looks so realistic. And what we see here is potentially the Mando battle that is to come. Like you said in episode 7 or 8, you see our good buddy Din Djarin there holding the Darksaber and his signature pistol at his side.
Armor,
you see the armor,
other random Mandos,
tongs, and hammers. You see Bo off in the background, and all of the Mandos are fighting against the Imperial Remnant on probably what looks like Navarro, because it is kind of a sandy type of environment. But it's such a grounded, realistic shot that just fits so well in this Mando.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. It does not feel like a toy shot. It feels like a shot from set one day. You know, just some idiot took a shot working on the Mandalorian crew, and here we go. So quality stuff from at Revens_toypicks. And Nick, do what you usually do.
Yeah, that is the end of the top 5, and that's the end of our show. So, Matt, close out this Star Wars Celebration special that we just ran through.
That's right. And you know what? Like I said, we weren't at Celebration. I would have went just to be in London again. I love London town. Has one of the richest histories for a big city in the entire planet. But it was nice to kind of live it through all of you. So if you want to join in the fun, kind of talk Star Wars throughout the week, when we're not here doing our live stream, don't forget we got a Discord. You can find the open link in our Instagram account at Star Wars Time Show. Just hit that bio link. But more importantly, if you are new here, like our buddy Carver Tate jumped in and stuck with us all the way to the end. We could have a new fando. If that is the case, Carver, StarWarsTime.net. That's where you can find our content throughout the week. You can sub to the podcast on traditional podcast platforms. You can sub to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Go ahead and hit that, buddy. Carver, we love you. And don't forget, everyone watching this right now, let's get some likes. Let's get some comments. Let's get some subs and notifications, because that's how we keep this thing growing, and we keep getting it recommended to new fans like Carver, like that other guy that jumped in live stream surfing today. So don't forget, there's always time for Star Wars Time, StarWarsTime.net. Get on those podcasts, leave ratings and reviews. If you're thinking about it right now, like, God damn, he says this every time, it's so annoying, just take the 2 seconds and go do it. Trust me. It means a lot to us. Keep that feedback coming. Send us emails. Send us DMs. If you want to talk shit, do that too. We love any type of feedback, because there really is always time for Star Wars Time. And don't you forget that if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you, and you, always. Always. Always! Hold on. Always! One more time. Always!